Chapter 519. The three forces were obviously determined to kill him. The third grade Long family, Nether Mansion, and Ethereal Palace each sent a world emperor into Bailing Mountain. Not only that, but Ethereal Palace also sent a half-saint martial artist in order to end the battle quickly. The three forces knew very well that Snake Emperor had an invincible army around him. All of them were world kings and world emperors with immortal bodies. Because of this, it was not easy to kill Snake Emperor in the midst of an invincible army. After thinking about it, the three forces decided that the three world emperors would lure away the invincible army while the half-saint martial artist would personally kill Snake Emperor. Looking at the half-saint martial artist who suddenly appeared in front of him, and was an elder that he knew, Snake Emperor was a little dazed. Once upon a time, he was still the palace master of Ethereal Palace. Would this elder dare to do this? Snake Emperor, since you were once the palace master, you can kill yourself. Bullshit, who do you think you are? What right do you have to ask me to kill myself? Stubborn. Snake Emperor was only a world emperor. He was not on the same level as a half-saint martial artist. Because of this, the half-saint martial artist did not put Snake Emperor in his eyes. In that case, don't blame me for being impolite. The half-saint martial artist of Ethereal Palace did not continue to talk nonsense. No matter what, Snake Emperor was no longer the palace master in front of him. In the blink of an eye, the two were already fighting. In just 10 moves, Snake Emperor could not resist anymore. He was attacked repeatedly and was already injured. Go to hell. However, the half-saint martial artist left quickly and returned even faster. His face was filled with disbelief. Impossible, this is impossible. Looking at the young man who suddenly appeared, the half-saint martial artist certainly knew who the young man was. The master of Dragon Sect, Longao, had defeated the four forces. He did not care about the legends, but seeing it with his own eyes was a different feeling. You are the master of Dragon Sect, Longao? Nonsense. His face turned cold. The other party was also a half-saint martial artist, and he was also a half-saint martial artist. Why should he be afraid of the other party? Thinking of this, the half-saint martial artist rushed forward with a terrifying Saint Chi aura. Blood Drinker. While releasing the imposing aura of heaven and earth, a huge shadow of a black dragon suddenly appeared on Longao's back. A dragon's roar resounded. Before this semi-sage expert could figure out what was going on, he found that his body had been locked down. Not only that, but the flow of time around him had also started to reverse. His eyes were filled with shock and disbelief, as if he had seen a ghost. The shocking saber light slashed out, and the surrounding space trembled wantonly. Moreover, traces of black cracks appeared. The legend was true. At this moment, the sage-to-be martial artist finally realized how terrifying the young man in front of him was. He didn't dare to stay any longer. He turned around and prepared to leave, but how could Longao give him the chance? There was no doubt about it. The frightening blade light swallowed the half-step saint in an instant. The spatial cracks danced wildly, as if they were roaring and roaring. The Snake Emperor swallowed his saliva. He had never imagined that the master's strength had reached such a terrifying stage. He had almost killed a sage-to-be warrior in an instant. The Snake Emperor knew very well that the current Longao was no longer the same as before. When Longao had wreaked havoc in the Ethereal Palace and killed a half-step saint in an instant, it was mostly due to luck and the half-step saint's carelessness. But now, Longao had killed a half-step saint in an instant by relying entirely on his own strength. Master, I'm sorry. I was wrong this time. Waving his hand, Longao didn't even bother to say another word. He called back all the corpse slaves around him and removed the power from the Snake Emperor's body. In this way, the Snake Emperor could no longer command the corpse slaves. How could the Snake Emperor not know about this? His recklessness this time not only meant that he had lost the command of the corpse slaves, but his status in the Dragon Sect would also plummet in the future. With a deep sigh, the Snake Emperor didn't blame anyone because he knew that he was the culprit who had caused all this. He couldn't blame anyone else. Longao took the Snake Emperor and slowly left Bailing Mountain under the protection of the corpse slaves. The situation between Longao and the Snake Emperor was completely different. The corpse slaves were 100% obedient to Longao's command, but the Snake Emperor couldn't do this. Seeing Longao and the Snake Emperor walking out of Bailing Mountain, the expressions of all the people from the three major forces changed. They weren't afraid of the Snake Emperor, but they were afraid of Longao. As the saying goes, a person's reputation is like a tree's shadow. The news of Longao inflicting heavy losses on the four major forces had already spread throughout the 9 states. It would be a lie to say that they weren't afraid of such a counterattacking character. However, the experts of the 3 big forces were as numerous as clouds. In fact, there were as many as 6 semi-sage experts. With such strength, there was no need to be afraid of Longao. It was precisely because of this that everyone was staring at Longao. Their intention was very clear. Longao, let me give you a piece of advice. It's best if you surrender yourself. Then, the 3 major forces can be magnanimous and spare your life. Otherwise, a bunch of trash. Looking coldly at the 3 major forces, Longao didn't want to waste any more words. He found a flying spiritual beast corpse slave and let the Snake Emperor leave first. But how could the 3 major forces agree? The 3 major forces shot out 3 figures at the same time. They were all World Emperor level experts. However, before the crowd could react, they were killed by a shocking light and their corpses fell to the ground. They stared blankly at the scene that just happened. Longao killed 3 world emperors in an instant. Even if he was a half-step saint, could he do this? The Snake Emperor left smoothly. This way, Longao no longer had any scruples and could start a massacre. Originally, Longao didn't want to completely break off relations with the 3 major forces. After all, with the current strength of the Dragon Sect, it wasn't time to fight to the death with the 3 major forces. However, Longao now thought about it. If this continued, it wouldn't be good for the development of the sect. Now that the Dragon Sect had the Fire Qilin and his family had the protection of the old ancestor, even if the 3 major forces wanted to deal with the sect and family, it wasn't very likely. Therefore, without any worries, Longao decided to completely break off relations with the 3 major forces. Even if he couldn't destroy the 3 major forces, he had to quickly develop the sect and family's strength. The only way was to kill. Everyone here today will die. Not a single one will be left alive. Ha ha ha, with just you. Who do you think you are? Shameless boasting. You're overestimating yourself. Hearing Longao's arrogant words, a burst of ridicule came from all around. They didn't take Longao's words to heart. With the strength of a single person, wanting to kill everyone here? Unless there was something wrong with his head, or water had entered his brain. Longao, the one who will die today will be you, not us. I want to see how you're going to kill us all. You'll pay the price for your arrogance. Chapter 520. No one believed Longao's words. In everyone's eyes, Longao was simply too arrogant. He was simply courting death. The total number of people from the 3 major forces was more than 3,000. Just the number of semi-saints alone was as many as 6. What did this mean? Longao didn't continue to talk nonsense. He wanted to end the battle quickly. After giving the order to the corpse slave army, Longao's figure also rushed out. As the saying goes, soldiers against soldiers, generals against generals. 1 against 6. Longao and the 6 semi-sage experts started to fight. Fortunately, the 6 semi-sage experts were at primary level and intermediate level. Only one of them was a senior semi-sage expert. Otherwise, the outcome of this battle would have been uncertain if a peak semi-sage had arrived. In order to end the battle quickly, Longao just released a powerful aura of heaven and earth. The battle hadn't started yet, but the aura of the 6 semi-saints had already been fiercely suppressed. However, the 3 major forces still had 6 semi-saints. The 6 semi-saints joined forces and forcibly broke the aura of heaven and earth released by Longao. The 7 of them fiercely fought together. They went back and forth, and it was a fight to the death. Longao was very clear in his heart. In the situation of 1 against 6, the longer he delayed, the more they would ignore him. Therefore, he had to end the battle quickly. Blood-sucking wild blade, one blade after another. The 6 semi-saints weren't fools. Of course, they knew how powerful Longao was. They attacked Longao from 4 different directions. Moreover, they chose to take turns to fight him. Seeing a semi-saint's fist fiercely smashing towards him, Longao didn't pay attention to it. Instead, he chose to forcibly resist. Moreover, he also smashed out with his fists. However, his fists were aimed at another semi-saint. What was Longao trying to do? Seeing that Longao didn't dodge at all and seized the opportunity to smash another semi-saint, the 6 semi-saints were somewhat shocked. They didn't know what Longao wanted to do. Could it be that he wanted both sides to suffer? If it was a one-on-one battle, then Longao's strategy might have been effective. However, there were 6 semi-sage experts now. Even if Longao could succeed, he would only be able to kill and seriously injure one of the semi-sage experts. He would definitely be smashed to death. The 6 semi-sage experts knew this, and so did Longao. However, Longao had still chosen to do so because he knew this. The 6 half-step saints were completely confused by Longao's actions. However, in order to kill Longao, it was worth it even if they were seriously injured. Therefore, the 6 half-step saints still chose to attack. Crack, crack. Longao was mercilessly smashed. Everyone thought that even if Longao wasn't smashed to death, he would definitely be severely injured. But what was the result? Longao acted as if nothing had happened. The 6 half-step saints looked as if they had seen a ghost. Longao didn't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He ruthlessly smashed his fists, and directly smashed the bodies of the half-step saints. The half-step saints couldn't be compared to Longao. Longao had the Divine Desolation body. Even if he had condensed 1/3 of the Divine Desolation body, it wasn't something that a half-step saint expert could break. However, it was different for a half-step saint expert. Longao was incomparably powerful. In addition to the so-called Divine Dragon Arm, he could directly smash a half-step saint expert to death with one punch. Longao didn't hesitate at all. He had just smashed a half-step saint expert to death. He directly used his self-created martial technique, Sorrow of Heaven and Earth. A terrifying tornado appeared in an instant and directly swallowed 5 half-step saints. At this moment, Longao could finally heave a sigh of relief. The aura of heaven and earth suppressed the 5 half-step saints. While Longao's fists were smashing, his feet weren't idle either. In any case, he was fighting 1 against 5, attacking left and right. The 5 half-step saints were extremely shocked. The 5 of them had never imagined that under the situation of 1 against 6, not only would Longao kill one of them, but he would also advance step by step. If the 5 of them were careless, they would be obliterated by him. Longao was too powerful. The 5 half-step saints didn't dare to hesitate at all. They only knew how to dodge and didn't dare to meet force with force. However, Longao didn't give them the slightest chance. Fist after fist, blade after blade. Innate remarkable ability, Dragon's Roar. A dragon's roar resounded. Immediately after, a huge dragon shadow appeared behind Longao. The dragon's roar continued to resound, echoing all around by Ling Mountain. The 5 half-step saints were completely stunned as they stared blankly at the huge dragon shadow behind Longao. After locking onto the 5 half-step saints, time began to flow backward. Longao was suddenly delighted. He didn't give up the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The blood-sucking broadsword in his hand had already slashed out fiercely. The shocking broadsword light came out, not giving the 5 half-step saints the slightest chance to react. They had already been swallowed by the shocking broadsword light. So far, 6 half-step saints, plus the half-step saint from the ethereal palace who had just been killed, a total of 7 half-step saints were killed in less than 3 minutes. What kind of concept was this? Once this matter spread out, Longao's name would resound in the world again. Looking coldly at the corpse demon army slaughtering the three forces, Longao didn't have the slightest bit of pity. This was because he was very clear about the principle that the winner was the king and the loser was the bandit. Once you showed mercy to the enemy, there was no doubt that your end would be very tragic. This was a principle that had never changed since ancient times. The corpse demon army continued to slaughter the people of the three forces. In just a few dozen minutes, more than 3,000 people were slaughtered, not leaving a single one alive. The news that Longao had personally appeared in Bailing Mountain, slaughtered 3,000 people of the three forces, and killed 7 half-step saints instantly spread throughout the 9 regions. Everyone who received the news turned pale with fright. None of them knew how Longao had done it. Not to mention the 3,000 disciples, just the 7 half-step sages. How could Longao fight against 7 half-step sages by himself? Countless people rushed into Bailing Mountain, wanting to see if this matter was true. But no matter who it was, no one was allowed to step into Bailing Mountain. The reason was very simple. The three forces had completely sealed off Bailing Mountain. The three forces' actions had indirectly proved one thing, and that was that the matter of Bailing Mountain was true. Henceforth, Longao's name resounded throughout the world. Longao's nickname was also Longao's. After all, Longao had slaughtered 3,000 people and killed 7 half-step saints this time. This kind of thing seemed to be something that very few people would do. Killing God Longao? The name of killing God spread throughout the 9 regions. Not only did no one curse Longao, but they all worshipped him even more. The biggest reason was that Longao had done something that others didn't dare to do. The 4 forces had always been the overlords of the 9 regions, and no one dared to provoke them. But Longao was different. Not only had he inflicted heavy losses on the 4 forces, but this massacre had also announced to the world that the dragon sect and the 3 forces had become incompatible like fire and water. The Battle of Bailing Mountain had completely enraged the 3 forces. But due to Longao's strength and the mystery of the dragon sect, the 3 forces didn't immediately take action. Instead, they remained silent. This made everyone in the 9 regions think that the 3 forces were afraid of Longao. Chapter 521. Longao, the Azura. Dragon Sect Main Hall. Everyone in the Dragon Sect knew about the Master's massacre of the 3 major forces. It was heartening. All of them were extremely excited and were smiling. Only one person, the Snake Emperor, was extremely depressed. He thought that with the corpse slave army, he could perform well. But in the end, he went for wool and came home shorn. If you knew this would happen, you wouldn't have done it. Hearing the mockery from Xia Jun, the Snake Emperor glared angrily, but there was nothing he could do. He clenched his fists tightly. At this moment, Longao walked out from the back hall. Seeing everyone standing up, he waved his hand and said with a smile, "Everyone take a seat. I called you here to discuss how to deal with the 3 major forces." Longao's massacre of the 3 great powers this time had given the Dragon Sect a boost in confidence. "Master, if nothing goes wrong, I believe that the 3 major forces won't come for a while. We can focus on developing the strength of the sect. I don't agree with what Elder Ouyang said. I suggest that we take advantage of the low morale of the 3 major forces and catch them off guard." Everyone was arguing with each other until their faces and ears were flushed red. Longao did not say anything. He just smiled and looked at everyone in front of him. After arguing for a long time, everyone realized that the master did not say anything. They were too embarrassed to speak, so they kept quiet and looked at the master. Everyone knew that the master had to make the final decision. "Elder Snake, what do you think?" "Master, are you asking me?" Hearing that the master was asking him, the Snake Emperor was surprised and could not believe it. Not only the Snake Emperor, even the others were curious. They did not know what was going on with the master. Everyone knew that the Snake Emperor did not listen to the master's orders and led the corpse slave army to hunt down the 3 major forces. He was almost killed. The death of the Snake Emperor was a small matter. But if the corpse slave army was lost, the Snake Emperor could not escape death. Because of this, everyone, including the Snake Emperor, thought that the Master would not give the Snake Emperor another chance. Even if the Snake Emperor was still an elder of the sect, it was just a facade with no real power. Yes. Sect leader, now that the three major forces have suffered heavy losses, if nothing unexpected happens, they will definitely stop and think about it for a period of time. With my many years of experience, the three major forces will definitely not think that we will continue to pursue them. Therefore, the Snake Emperor looked at the unfriendly gazes all around him and sighed deeply. He did not continue speaking, but the meaning behind his words was very clear. The Snake Emperor had chosen to take the initiative to attack, catching the three great forces off guard. Nodding, Longao suddenly said, "All right, let's do as Elder Snake says. We'll launch a surprise attack." Hearing that the Master had chosen the Snake Emperor's method, everyone sighed. It was clear that the Master trusted the Snake Emperor. Even after what had happened, he did not blame the Snake Emperor. Instead, he listened to the Snake Emperor's suggestion and chose to attack. We will now split into three groups. The first group will attack the Ethereal Palace, led by Elder Snake. Elder Snake, you should be fine, right? Master. Alright, now is not the time to be wishy-washy. The second group will attack the Nether Mansion, led by Uncle Ao. The third group will attack. Longao quickly arranged everything. This time, Longao had thought it through. Since he had already slaughtered more than 3,000 people from the three great forces, the Dragon Sect and the three great forces had completely fallen out. Even if he did not take the initiative to attack, he believed that the three great forces would not let it go. Rather than being attacked passively, it was better to take the initiative to attack. Everyone, listen up. This time, when attacking the three great forces, you only need to use your wits and not fight recklessly. If the situation is not right, retreat immediately. Do not give the three great forces any chance. Understand? Understood. Everyone looked at the Serpent Emperor because the Serpent Emperor had disobeyed orders without permission and almost caused the sect to lose an army of corpse demons. Therefore, no one believed the Serpent Emperor at all. How could the Serpent Emperor not know this? Master, I won't do it this time. I will bring you good news. All right, everyone go and prepare. We will start the operation tonight. Everyone left except for the Snake Emperor. He looked at the young man in front of him and said helplessly, "Thank you, Master, for giving me a chance. I will not act recklessly again." "All right, I believe you. Go and prepare." "Thank you." After saying this, the Snake Emperor turned and left, leaving Longao alone in the hall. Why do you choose to continue believing in the Snake Emperor? Are you not afraid that the Snake Emperor will repeat the same mistake? Looking at the Ghost King who had suddenly appeared, Longao smiled and said, "I can say with certainty that the Snake Emperor will not do it again. It is because of this that I want to send the Snake Emperor to deal with the Ethereal Palace. No one is more suitable than the Snake Emperor." Ao Tian nodded and said with praise, "You have grown. I believe that in the near future, your future is limitless. But Ao, I want to remind you of one thing. Don't kill them all." "Why?" Longao was not a fool. Of course, he knew that Ao Tian was hinting at something. Could it be because of his long family? Ao, without the support of a powerful backer, do you think the four great powers could have dominated the 9 states for so many years? Right now, the four great powers can deal with you, but their backers will not appear. Once you kill them all, I believe that these superpowers will appear one after another. So that's why. Uncle Ao, I understand what you mean. I know what I am doing. In the future, I will definitely lead the Dragon Sect to the top. How ambitious. Ao Tian was very surprised, because Ao Tian felt that his ambition was already very big, but he never thought that Longao's ambition was even bigger than his own. He helplessly smiled. After all, the ideal is like a dream, the reality is very cruel. Everyone wants to make a career, but how many people can really do it? Uncle Ao, you have to be careful when dealing with the Nether Mansion. Although we're confident, the three great powers will definitely be on guard. If you feel that something is wrong, don't worry about anything else. Come back safely. I don't want to wait for Little Snow and Auntie to come back while you're gone. Ao Tian's body trembled when he heard Little Snow and Auntie. He nodded. I'll be fine. I still have to stay alive to find Little Snow and her mother with you. Looking at the figure that was gradually leaving, two figures suddenly flashed in Long Ao's mind. Yuyin and Ao Shui, the two people that he loved the most, but they were incomparably far away from him. Strength. He must have strong strength in order to ensure that the people that he loved wouldn't be hurt. Otherwise, it would be too late to regret when the person that he loved really left him. P.S. Little Nine knows that the update times these days are not fixed, so I don't want to find an excuse. Starting tomorrow, all the updates will be in the morning. Everyone, please forgive me. Chapter 522. Snake Emperor, Ghost King Ao Tian, and the others split into three groups to attack the three forces. Being caught off guard was the Dragon Sect's motto. Not only that, but the Imperial City also sent out three groups to attack the three forces together with the Dragon Sect. Just as Long Ao and Snake Emperor had guessed, Long Ao had slaughtered 3,000 people and 7 half-saints on Bailing Mountain. The three forces would never have thought that Long Ao would take advantage of the situation. When the three forces finally reacted, the situation was already irreversible. The Dragon Sect's corpse slave army and the Imperial City's powerful army forced the three forces to retreat. In just one night, they were almost forced out of the 9 states and back to the 9 states spirit region. However, the three forces obviously didn't want to give up. They immediately increased their efforts and sent out powerful forces. This way, the three forces could be considered to have gained a firm foothold. This time, Snake Emperor and the others didn't dare to disobey Long Ao's orders. They stopped and didn't continue to chase after the three forces. Just when everyone, including the Imperial City and the three forces, thought that Long Ao would occupy the other states, the Dragon Sect's three groups all withdrew and returned to Tianzhou. Long Ao's action caused everyone to be in a daze. The Imperial City was very depressed. They thought that they could occupy half of the country this time, but the Dragon Sect suddenly withdrew, so the Imperial City could only choose to give up. Dragon Sect, behind the mountain, beside an extremely beautiful lotus pond. Brother Duan, please sit. Long Ao wasn't surprised by Duan Kai's sudden arrival because he had already guessed that the Imperial City would send someone. He didn't expect Duan Kai to come personally. Duan Kai was very depressed. As a higher-up of the Imperial City, he shouldn't have come at all. However, with Long Ao's current status, Duan he was no longer qualified. Master Long, I believe you already know the purpose of my visit this time. Long Ao shook his head and didn't say anything. Coldly snorting in his heart, Long Ao of course knew why Duan Kai had come this time, but he would not point it out because in this situation, the initiative was already in his hands. In his heart, he was already cursing Long Ao's 18 generations of ancestors, but Duan Kai's expression was very natural as he said, Master Long, this time, the Dragon Sect and the Imperial City have joined forces and already have the upper hand. Why don't you take advantage of the victory and pursue? Why must the Dragon Sect suddenly withdraw and lose such a great opportunity that only comes once in a blue moon? Brother Duan, do you think that pursuing the enemy while they are victorious is the best strategy? Nodding his head, Duan Kai said, That's right. This time, the three great forces were caught unprepared by me. As long as we take advantage of this situation and pursue them, I'm sure that we'll be able to drive the three great forces out of the 9 provinces, and then each of us will occupy half of the world. How could Long Ao not know what Duan Kai meant? He once again cursed in his heart, but no matter what, the sect and the Imperial City were still allies. Brother Duan, things have already come to this point. To tell you the truth, with the current strength of the Dragon Sect, once we fight with the three great forces, we'll only be digging our own grave. Do you agree with my point of view? Duan Kai did not say anything, which could be considered as tacit agreement, As one of the upper echelons of the imperial city, Duan Kai naturally knew how terrifying the foundations and strength of the four great forces were. Just the dragon sect, which had just been established not long ago, wanted to destroy the four great forces. Regardless of whether others believed it or not, he definitely did not believe it. However, Duan Kai still did not want to give up this opportunity because his intention was very simple. He wanted to borrow the power of the dragon sect to restrain the three great forces. When the time came to occupy the 9 provinces, he would be able to find the grave of the gods as quickly as possible. As long as he could find the grave of the gods, even if the imperial city withdrew from the 9 provinces, it would not be a big deal. He was unwilling to accept this. With the current strength of the dragon sect, going head-on against the 3 great forces is practically courting death. Brother Duan, your imperial city has a big business, so of course you're not afraid, but our situation is different. Master Long, things have already come to this point. Let's not beat around the bush. Sure. Longao appeared to be very indifferent, as if he did not care about the alliance of the 2 great forces at all. It was precisely because of this that Duan Kai became more and more unsure of himself. Under normal circumstances, there were as many forces as there were hairs on a cow that wanted to ally with the imperial city, but everything would be led by the imperial city. But now, it was as if the imperial city and the dragon sect had formed an alliance, with the dragon sect as the boss and the imperial city as the vassal. It was as if the imperial city had to curry favor with the dragon sect. Master Long, the grudge between you and the 3 great forces, especially with the Long family and the ethereal palace, has reached a point where it's either you die or I die. Although it's impossible for us to destroy the 3 great forces, it's more than enough to restrain them. What do you think? Longao did not speak because he knew very well that Duan Kai had not finished speaking. As expected. Master Long, I can guarantee that as long as you go all out this time, we will definitely be able to drive the 3 great forces out of the 9 provinces. At that time, we will each occupy half of the world. I can also guarantee that 3 years later, the imperial city will also withdraw from the 9 provinces. At that time, the entire 9 provinces will belong to the dragon sect. What do you think? He sneered to the extreme in his heart. Regarding Duan Kai's schemes and machinations, Longao knew it clearly. The grave of the gods. In the end, Duan Kai could not wait to drive the 3 great forces out so that he could monopolize the grave of the gods. However, the 4 great forces would never have thought that the grave of the gods they were searching for was not in the 9 provinces at all, but in the 9 provinces' spirit domain Sin City. Since that was the case, why not use the imperial city to restrain the 3 great forces? Thinking of this, Longao said, Brother Duan, since you have said so, then I will also tell you the truth. The reason why the dragon sect can defeat the 3 great forces is entirely because of the corpse slave army. However, the problem now is that the corpse slave army is limited in number. As long as the imperial city can send double the number of people, I will agree to this matter. Shameless. Despicable. Duan Kai cursed all 18 generations of Longao's ancestors in his heart. Double the number of people. Longao wanted nothing more than to take advantage of the situation, but he had to agree. This time, Duan Kai had come to settle this matter. Thinking of the comparison between the grave of the gods and double the number of people, Duan Kai nodded and said, No problem, Master Long. Since we have already agreed, then let's act immediately. What do you think? Okay. Longao smiled. This time, the imperial city and the dragon sect were clearly at a disadvantage. However, the imperial city could only suffer in silence, unable to voice out their bitterness. If it were not for the grave of the gods, Duan Kai would not be so compromising. Longao also took advantage of this point to obtain the greatest benefit for himself and the dragon sect. The corpse slave army was immortal. Longao was not worried about the corpse slave army. When the 4 great forces fought, he would be the one taking advantage in the end. P.S. It's 2 o'clock. Hurry up and go to sleep. You have to wake up early tomorrow. Sigh. Chapter 523. In the end, Longao and Duan Kai reached a verbal agreement. The dragon sect had sent out an army of corpse slaves, while the imperial city had to send out twice as many people. In this way, the imperial city was indeed at a disadvantage. However, the imperial city had its own plans. Once they conquered the 9 states, the imperial city could search for the grave of the gods without restraint. In Duan Kai and Duan He's opinion, Longao didn't know about the grave of the gods in the 9 states. Unexpectedly, not only did Longao know, he had even entered the grave of the gods. If Duan Kai knew about this, who knew what he would think? Currently, the 9 states was in chaos. The 4 major forces and the dragon sect were fighting. All the clans and sects in the 9 states behaved obediently, not daring to make any moves. Kid, have you really seen the ancestor of my Qilin clan? Dragon sect, Back Mountain Forbidden Area. The Fire Qilin was obviously shocked, his face was filled with disbelief. He knew very well what the ancestor of the Qilin clan represented. The ancient Qilin, the ancestor of the Qilin clan, had a supreme position in the Qilin clan. Because of this, the Fire Qilin didn't quite believe that Longao had actually seen the ancestor. He hadn't even seen him once. Shrugging helplessly, Longao asked, "Do I need to lie to you?" The Fire Qilin thought about it, and realized that Longao had no reason to lie to him, unless he was bored to death. "Longao, tell me what happened." Nodding, Longao didn't hide much. However, he didn't mention anything about the immemorial divine dragon and the dragon seal space. The process was very simple. He went to the ethereal palace and accidentally met a water Qilin. Just as it was about to kill him, the ancestor of the Qilin clan, the immemorial Qilin, suddenly appeared. After hearing this, the Fire Qilin was very surprised, as if he couldn't figure it out. "What's the reason?" In the end, the Fire Qilin couldn't figure out the reason. He couldn't figure out why the ancestor would appear when the water Qilin killing Longao was such a small matter. "Kid, I don't know why the ancestor has appeared to save you, but I can tell you clearly that the ancestor is one of the most powerful existences in the world. With the ancestor's help, you can do whatever you want on the continent." Nodding his head, Longao only smiled and did not say anything. In the end, Longao did not tell the Fire Qilin the truth. After all, the primordial Qilin did not appear to save him, but the primordial divine dragon had lured the primordial Qilin out. "Kid, do you know what the primordial Qilin means?" "I don't know." F***CK, you're really an idiot. Let me tell you now, the primordial Qilin and the primordial divine dragon of the dragon clan are the strongest existences among the divine beasts. If you have the protection of the old ancestor, you'll be rich in the future. It was this sentence again. Longao's heart was depressed to the extreme, but he still resisted and did not tell the truth to the Fire Qilin. "Kid, since the ancestor has personally appeared to save you, I believe he will see you in a new light. Since that's the case, I'll teach you a martial skill that is exclusive to the Qilin clan. However, you have to promise me that you won't teach this martial skill to anyone, not even your family members." Hearing this, Longao's heart was suddenly filled with joy. Regarding the Fire Qilin's meaning, Longao knew clearly. Under normal circumstances, the Fire Qilin would not teach him the martial skill of the Qilin clan. In the end, the Fire Qilin still wanted to rely on him to curry favor with the primordial Qilin. However, the primordial Qilin was the ancestor of the Qilin clan. If he could curry favor with it, his future would be bright. Longao found it funny. He had nothing to do with the primordial Qilin, but the Fire Qilin thought that he was related to the primordial Qilin. No matter what, the Fire Qilin would teach him a martial skill. Ever since it heard that the primordial Qilin had personally appeared to save Longao, the Fire Qilin's attitude took a 180-degree turn. It was even willing to teach Longao a martial skill. Needless to say, even the Qilin clan was snobbish. "Kid, the martial skill that I will teach you is one of the strongest in the illusionary divine stage. It is called the Shadow Strike." "Brother Qilin, what is the Shadow Strike?" Following which, the the Fire Qilin taught Longao the secrets and essentials of the Shadow Strike. After hearing this, Longao sighed. The Shadow Strike that the Fire Qilin taught him was too strong. Although it could not be compared to the upgraded blood-sucking Frenzy Blade, it was just as the Fire Qilin had said. Within the illusionary divine stage, the Shadow Strike was enough to deal with it. The Shadow Strike, as the name suggested, was to make use of the shadows of others to kill them. The theory was simple. When attacking the opponent, one would directly attack the shadows and not the actual body. Shadows would only appear at night. However, the strength of the Shadow Strike lay in the fact that it could kill shadows even during the day. No matter what, even during the day, martial artists would have illusory shadows. It was just that ordinary people would not be able to see them. However, martial artists who had learnt the Shadow Strike would be able to see the power of the Shadow Strike. Longao did not slack off. Ever since he learnt the Shadow Strike, he went into seclusion and did not meet anyone. Needless to say, Longao's talent and perception were indeed very strong. According to the Fire Qilin's calculations, Longao would need at least 3 months to master the Shadow Strike. However, Longao was able to shorten that time to 3 days. Even the Fire Qilin was impressed by Longao's perception and talent. After achieving a small success, Longao could not wait to test the power of the Shadow Strike. Who should he look for? After thinking for a while, Longao suddenly thought of a person and immediately left. Seventh brother, don't joke around. Although I have reached the Sage-to-be realm, my strength is not on the same level. Quick, I still need to cultivate. You go and find someone else to test it. Hearing that his seventh brother wanted to test the Shadow Strike, Longing was naturally unwilling. If it was someone else or an ordinary Sage-to-be martial artist, it would not be a problem at all. However, his seventh brother was abnormal. He was a super martial artist who could instantly kill a Sage-to-be martial artist. Would he dare to try? Big brother, let's stop here. Ever since you broke through to the Sage-to-be realm, you have not found anyone to test the Shadow Strike. Don't you want to know how strong you are now? It would be a lie to say that he was not tempted. Ever since he had obtained the great emperor's inheritance from the old ancestor, his cultivation had made rapid breakthroughs. In just a few months, he had reached the Sage-to-be realm. Longing did not even dare to think about it before. It was precisely because of this that he wanted to find someone to test it out. However, there were too few Sage-to-be martial artists in the dragon sect and all the people in the family. Longing had just started to cultivate in the family. However, sometimes he needed Longao's help, so he directly moved to the dragon sect and occasionally returned to the family. Chapter 524. In the end, Longing chose to agree. Longao and Longing faced each other. Suddenly both of them moved. This time, Longao only wanted to test his Shadow Strike martial skill, so he didn't use any of his killing moves. Shadow Strike martial skill. Longao dodged his big brother's attacks while sensing his big brother's shadow. In the end, Longing had just broken through to the half-step saint realm. He was still immature in all aspects. Longao instantly sensed him. Shadow Strike martial skill. Longao quickly moved out and started attacking the shadow. This time, Longing was completely depressed because he didn't know what his seventh brother was doing. In any case, he was attacked everywhere. It was impossible to guard against. Wait! Longao stopped and asked curiously. Big brother, what's wrong? Seventh brother, you're too much of a bully. Your martial skill is too powerful. I can't even touch you, but I'm beaten half to death by you. I'm not going to fight anymore. Longao shrugged helplessly. He felt that he was bullying his big brother. Not to mention the other killing moves, just the Shadow Strike martial skill wasn't something that his big brother could block. Longao was very confident that once he used the Shadow Strike martial skill, he could completely suppress a mid-step half-step saint, or even a high-step half-step saint. Moreover, the Shadow Strike martial skill could be upgraded. It would be useless after upgrading to the Emperor realm. However, this was already enough. Seventh brother, the martial skill you used just now. Did you create it yourself? Although Longing hadn't seen his seventh brother's self-created heaven and earth sorrow, he had heard rumors that his seventh brother's self-created heaven and earth sorrow was extremely terrifying. It could even instantly kill a half-step saint. Could it be that the martial skill he used just now was also self-created? Thinking of this, Longying's heart was ruthlessly attacked. This wasn't to say that Longying was envious of his seventh brother. He had grown to such a level in just over a year. Big brother, to be honest, this martial skill is called Shadow Strike. I didn't create it myself. The Fire Qilin taught it to me. Hearing these words, Longing was very surprised and asked softly, Seventh brother, why did the Fire Qilin teach you the Shadow Kill martial technique? Without waiting for Longao to speak, Longing continued, Seventh brother, you should know better than me that the Qilin clan is the strongest existence in the world. It's impossible for them to casually teach their martial skills to outsiders. Seventh brother, have you ever thought about why the Fire Qilin would do this? How could Longao not know about his elder brother's worries? Longao had always admired his elder brother since he was young. No matter what, the number one genius of the Long family had always been his elder brother. If it wasn't for his rise to power overshadowing his elder brother's brilliance, he believed that his elder brother would still be the shining star of the Long family. It was precisely because of this that Longao explained the reason. After hearing this, Longing was shocked to the extreme. Although he didn't know what the primordial Qilin meant and didn't know how strong the primordial Qilin was, Longing knew one thing. As the ancestor of the Qilin clan, it was definitely one of the strongest existences in the world. Not to mention the Fire Qilin, even he couldn't understand why the primordial Qilin would appear out of nowhere to save his seventh brother. Longao also didn't tell his elder brother about the primordial divine dragon. No matter what, the primordial divine dragon was related to the heavenly Tao. In the future, he would inevitably have to deal with the heavenly Tao. Therefore, the less the Long family was involved in this matter, the better. Big brother, I don't know either. The Fire Qilin taught me the Shadow Kill martial technique because of the primordial Qilin. Since that's the case, you should practice the Shadow Kill martial technique well. I've already tried it myself. This martial technique is really powerful. With a smile, Longao suddenly said, Big brother, if I leave the Long family in the future, the Long family will rely on you. Seventh brother, what do you mean? Hearing Longao's words, Longing was shocked. He didn't know what happened to his seventh brother at all. However, he wasn't a fool. Of course, he could understand the meaning behind his words. Big brother, I'm sure you know a little about my situation. Yuyin and Aoxue aren't by my side. After I've settled the Long family's matters, I'll leave Tianzhou to find Aoxue and Yuyin. At that time, the Long family will be handed over to you. With the Fire Qilin, the ancestor, and his elder brother overseeing the sect and the Long family, Longao wasn't too worried. Longao had already decided that after settling the Long family's matters, no matter what happened, he would leave to find his two lovers. Longing nodded. Of course, he knew about his seventh brother's situation. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't worried. Seventh brother, be careful. Don't worry about the Long family. With me here, nothing will happen to the Long family. Longao took out the Bell of Death from his bosom and said, Big brother, this is a divine weapon of a divine path warrior. It's very powerful. Take it. Absolutely not. Longing didn't even think about it and directly refused. Longing knew very well what a divine weapon of a divine path warrior meant. He said, Seventh brother, keep it with you to protect yourself. I don't need you to care about me. Not caring whether Longing was willing or not, Longao directly stuffed the Bell of Death into Longying's hands. He stood up and stretched his body. Without giving Longing any chance to speak, Longao had already disappeared without a trace. Looking at the divine weapon in his hand, Longing clenched it tightly. He didn't know what to say. Seventh brother, I will definitely protect the Long family and never leave you. It had to be said that Longao was really generous. Even if Longing was his elder brother, many people wouldn't be able to do this. What a joke. The Bell of Death was a divine weapon of a divine path warrior. There was no need to talk about its power. Being able to obtain it was a kind of opportunity. If he gave it to others, not to mention his elder brother, even his biological father wouldn't give him face. Divine weapon was the strongest divine weapon in the world. Only divine path warriors could possess it. Once other divine path warriors found out that other warriors had divine weapons, the result would be obvious. Longao gave the Bell of Death to his elder brother. The meaning was very simple. Once he left the Long family, his elder brother would be the #1 expert of the Long family. However, even if his elder brother completely refined the inheritance, he would only be able to break through to the Great Emperor realm. What would he do if he encountered a higher-level Great Emperor or titled Great Emperor? It was precisely because of this that Longao gave the Bell of Death to his elder brother. He hoped that his elder brother would have a final trump card if he encountered a powerful enemy in the future. Dragon Sect and Imperial City Alliance were just about to take advantage of the situation and continue to attack the three major forces. Rank 3 Long Family, Nether Mansion, and Ethereal Palace. However, the four major forces suddenly stopped. Longao didn't know what was going on. Especially the Imperial City. He and Duan Kai had an agreement. Duan Kai wouldn't give up just like that. Chapter 525. Longao felt that something was amiss. According to Duan Kai's impatience, Longao found it hard to imagine why Duan Kai would give up such a rare opportunity. Before Longao could look for Duan Kai and Duan he had already rushed over. As such, Longao became more and more curious. He did not know what the Imperial City was up to. Brother Duan, what happened to the Imperial City's sudden retreat? For some reason, Longao's heart skipped a beat when he saw Duan Kai and Duan He's solemn expression. It seemed that something big had happened. Otherwise, the Imperial City would not have retreated so easily. Master Long, there's something you don't know. Duan Kai smiled bitterly and continued. The Dragon Sect's once-in-a-decade beast horde was suddenly brought forward. According to the previous agreement of the four major forces, before the beast horde, no matter what grudges we have, we must put aside our grudges and fight against the beast horde together. Beast horde? Longao had no idea what a beast horde was. However, Longao was not a fool. For the four major forces to join forces to fight against the beast horde, one could imagine how terrifying it was. Brother Duan, I would like to ask, what is a beast horde? Hearing Longao's question, Duan Kai and Duan He were both dumbfounded. However, after thinking about it, they understood. No matter what, Longao had only risen in a short period of time. He definitely did not know about the beast horde. Other than the four major forces, most people probably did not know about the beast horde. Master Long, the once-in-a-decade beast horde can be said to be the biggest nightmare of the 9 states. If it were not for the four major forces joining forces, I believe that the 9 states would have fallen into the beast horde's hands now. Hearing this, Longao was shocked. According to Duan Kai's words, didn't it mean that the four major forces had become the saviors of the 9 states? Master Long, the beast horde, as the name suggests, is a surge of countless spirit beasts. These spirit beasts are extremely ferocious and cruel. No matter who it is, they will be devoured by these spirit beasts. So that was the case. Longao could imagine the endless number of spiritual beasts entering the land of the 9 regions. Even powerful martial artists, such as illusionary divine martial artists, would find it difficult to defend themselves, much less ordinary people. The spirit beast army's devouring ability was terrifying. Longao finally understood why the four major forces were so solemn, and actually wanted to join hands to deal with the beast tide. Brother Duan, if my guess is correct, the beast tide is more terrifying than we imagined. Since that's the case, can the four great forces withstand the beast tide? Longao could completely imagine the terrifying situation of the beast tide entering the 9 states. Even if the four major forces were powerful, it would not be an easy task to stop the beast tide. Letting out a deep sigh, Duan Kai said helplessly. Back then, in order to fend off the beast tide, the four major powers sent out a request for help from the Heaven and Earth sect. As the number one power in the world, the Heaven and Earth sect sent out 10 Supreme Tao Formation Masters to work together and set up a super formation. In this way, together with the power of the four major powers, they could barely fend off the beast tide. Longao swallowed his saliva hard. Of course, he knew what 10 Supreme Tao Formation Masters represented. The Heaven and Earth sect was indeed the number one power in the world. Longao also had some understanding of the Heaven and Earth sect. Originally, Longao had always thought that the Long family was the strongest existence in the world. However, according to legends, the strongest was the Heaven and Earth sect, followed by the so-called Wanshou sect. The Long family. A total of 10 Supreme Tao Formation Masters could completely wipe out the entire land of the 9 regions. Longao sighed because he knew clearly that if not for the Heaven and Earth sect, even the four major forces would not be able to fend off the beast tide. The beast tide occurred once every 10 years and could almost be called the nightmare of the land of the 9 regions. Dragon sect, now you should know why the four major forces have all let go of their grudges, right? Nodding his head, Longao asked. Brother Duan, I still have one thing that I don't understand. Since the Heaven and Earth sect has already taken action, why didn't the four major forces ask the Heaven and Earth sect to continue the attack and just eliminate the beast tide directly? Regarding this point, Longao could not figure it out very well. After all, if the Heaven and Earth sect could send 10 Supreme Tao Formation Masters to set up a super formation to deal with the beast tide, why couldn't they directly help the four major forces and eliminate the beast tide directly? This way, it could be considered as benefiting the land of the 9 regions. Master Long, there is something you don't know. The beast tide is too terrifying. We can only suppress it but not completely eliminate it. Even the Heaven and Earth sect is unable to do so. Moreover, the Heaven and Earth sect would not lose any Supreme Tao Formation Masters for the land of the 9 regions. Supreme Tao Formation Masters were the pinnacle existence in the world. Even for the Heaven and Earth sect, they were precious assets. The Heaven and Earth sect would definitely not lose any Supreme Tao Formation Masters for the land of the 9 regions, or the four major forces. Longao could understand this point. After all, the destruction of the land of the 9 regions had nothing to do with the Heaven and Earth sect. Brother Duan, what is the purpose of your visit this time? You may speak frankly. Longao was not a fool. Of course, he knew that Duan He and Duan Kai did not ask him to come here just to chat. In fact, in Longao's heart, he had already guessed the purpose of their visit. Master Long, no matter what grudges we have, and no matter what grudges you have with the 3 major forces, we are all part of the land of the 9 regions. Therefore, the safety of the land of the 9 regions is everyone's responsibility. Do you agree with me? Shrugging, Longao meant that he agreed. All right, in that case, I will not say any more nonsense. This time, the Nether Mansion, the Ethereal Palace, the 3rd grade Long family, and the Imperial City have all put aside all grudges. Therefore, I hope that Master Long can also put aside your grudges and fight against the beast tide with us. Before Longao could speak, Duan He suddenly interrupted. Master Long, as a part of the land of the 9 regions, I believe that you will not refuse, right? Shameless. He cursed fiercely in his heart. Since they had already said so much, if he did not agree, wouldn't he become a sinner of the land of the 9 regions? Brother Duan, you are right. The safety of the land of the 9 regions is everyone's responsibility. Since I am a part of the land of the 9 regions, I will not shirk my duty. Don't worry, I will not become a sinner of the land of the 9 regions. Hearing that Longao had agreed, Duan He and Duan Kai were overjoyed. Master Long is so benevolent and righteous. I admire you. Looking at the two in front of him, Longao suddenly felt disgusted. They were lying through their teeth. They obviously wanted to kill him, but they were acting as if they admired him. They were simply shameless to the extreme. Brother Duan, I would like to ask, what should I do? Next, Duan Kai explained in detail how to deal with the beast tide. They also agreed to set off 3 days later. Then, Duan He and Duan Kai got up and left. In a short while, they had disappeared without a trace. The 10-year beast tide. Longao's expression was grave because he had a bad feeling in his heart. It seemed that the 10-year beast tide was not simple. P.S. Congratulations to the first alliance leader. Little Nine is extremely grateful. I love you to death. I hope that everyone will support Little Nine. More and more alliance leaders will appear. At that time, Proud Dragon Battle God will definitely surpass the other alliance leaders and reach the peak. Chapter 526. The 10-year beast tide was the nightmare of the 9 prefectures. The reason why Longao agreed this time was simple. No matter what, he, the dragon sect, and his family were all part of the 9 prefectures. If the 9 prefectures were devoured by the beast tide, it would not benefit him at all. However, Longao was not a fool. He would not go all out to stop the beast tide. After thinking about it, Longao finally decided to send out the corpse slave army to stop the beast tide on behalf of the dragon sect. In the end, even if the corpse slave army was annihilated, Longao would not be sad at all. However, the dragon sect could not afford to lose any disciple. Longao knew that Duan Kai and Duan He invited him on behalf of the 4 major forces to fight the 10-year beast tide together. It was not because of the dragon sect's strength, but because of the corpse slave army. Dragon sect, Back Mountain Forbidden Area. Big Brother Qilin, I want to ask you something. Do you know about the 10-year beast tide? Of course I do. What do you want to do? Longao did not hide anything and told the Fire Qilin about Duan Kai's invitation to fight the 10-year beast tide together. After listening, the Fire Qilin's expression became more and more serious. Longao, do you know the origin of the beast tide? Hearing the Fire Qilin's words, Longao's heart skipped a beat. Since the Fire Qilin said so, it seemed that the origin of the beast tide was not ordinary. Longao did not ask because he knew that if the Fire Qilin was willing to tell him, even if he did not ask, the Fire Qilin would definitely tell him. However, if the Fire Qilin was not willing, it would be useless even if he asked 100 or 1,000 times. Longao, let me give you a piece of advice. Do not provoke the beast tide. Big Brother Qilin, why is that? The more the Fire Qilin was like this, the more Longao wanted to know the origin of the beast tide. It seemed that even the Fire Qilin was afraid of the 10-year beast tide. Longao, I just want to tell you one thing. The beast tide is an existence that you cannot provoke. Not to mention you, even my Qilin clan cannot fight against the beast tide. Hearing these words, Longao was considered shocked to the extreme. One must know that the Qilin clan was one of the top clans in the continent. It was a super existence on the same level as the Giant Dragon clan and the Phoenix clan. However, even the Qilin clan did not dare to provoke the beast tide. It was hard for Longao to imagine how terrifying the beast tide was. Could it be that he chose to give up? Qilin, 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 Qilin. Qilin. Qilin, Qilin. Seemingly understanding Longao's character, the Fire Qilin didn't try to persuade him. Instead, it said, Longao, I don't think anything will happen to you as long as you don't touch your roots. Remember, don't go deep into the forbidden area of the beast tide. Otherwise, even if the Long clan and the Heaven and Earth sect come to the 9 prefectures, they won't be able to protect the 9 prefectures. Beast tide forbidden area. Longao did not continue to ask because he knew that the Fire Qilin could only tell him this much. Otherwise, the Fire Qilin would have told him everything just now. Although the Fire Qilin's words were very serious, Longao wasn't too worried. Just as the Fire Qilin had said, the beast tide came once every 10 years. It had already come so many times, so it was impossible for something to happen this time. Moreover, as long as he did not enter the forbidden area of the beast tide, it would be fine. Longao did not hide the matter of the beast tide from the others. No matter what, It was very unusual for the four major forces to suddenly stop. All the members of the dragon sect who received the news turned pale with fright. Everyone knew what the beast tide meant after they learned about it. They needed the Heaven and Earth sect to send out 10 Supreme Tao Formation Masters to set up a formation and join forces with the four major factions. Only then could they barely resist the beast tide. Master, have you really decided to fight the beast tide? Dragon sect, main hall. Everyone was worried when they heard that the master had agreed to fight against the beast tide together with the four major forces. After all, according to what the master had said, the beast tide was too terrifying. It could engulf the 9 prefectures at any time. Longao nodded. How could he not know about the worries in everyone's hearts? However, things had already come to this point. He had no way to escape and could only choose to face it. However, he could not tell anyone about this. Longao was such a person. He had to face all difficulties by himself. Everyone, listen to me first. The 10-year beast tide is no small matter. If we are not careful, the entire 9 states will be destroyed. As a part of the 9 states, we, the dragon sect, should do our part. Moreover, if we do not fight against the beast tide this time, when the beast tide is over, the 4 forces will have the upper hand. At that time, the dragon sect will be the sinner of the 9 states. It will not be easy for us to continue to establish ourselves in the 9 states. Master, how many people are you going to send? Not one person. Hearing this, everyone became curious. What did the sect leader mean by this? Instantly, everyone thought of one possibility, which was the corpse slave army. I believe that all of you have guessed it. That's right. I plan to send the corpse slave army to fight against the beast tide. Regardless of whether it succeeds or not, our sect will not lose anything. At this moment, the Snake Emperor suddenly stood up and said, Master, everyone has seen the power of the corpse slave army. If we are not careful and get injured, won't we suffer a great loss? In fact, the Snake Emperor wanted to say that he would rather lose some disciples than to damage the corpse slave army. How could the surrounding people not know what the Snake Emperor meant? However, no one looked down on the Snake Emperor. After all, this was the truth. The corpse slave army was more powerful than thousands of soldiers and horses. They could not afford to lose it. Elder Snake, do you know where the corpse slave army came from? I don't know. The Snake Emperor shook his head. Everyone in the surrounding also pricked up their ears. They wanted to hear where the terrifying corpse slave army came from. If I tell you that I can refine a corpse slave in minutes, would you believe me? If someone else stood here and said this, no one would believe it. However, the person who said this was their master. He was a person who liked to create miracles. Moreover, the miracle of the corpse slave army was personally created by the master. Could it be that the corpse slave army was really refined by the master himself? Everyone swallowed their saliva fiercely. It was as if they found it hard to believe. Was the master even human? Master, if you can refine a corpse slave army, why don't you refine millions of corpse slaves? If that's the case, our master can do whatever he wants in the 9 prefectures. What bullshasters T4 major powers? They will all submit to him. Flop. Hearing Xia Jun's words, Longao almost fell to the ground. An army of millions of corpse slaves? Xia Jun really thought highly of him. Not to mention millions of corpse slaves, even if it was tens of thousands of corpse slaves, he would probably be exhausted to death. Shrugging his shoulders helplessly, Longao said helplessly, I can't refine millions of corpse slaves. Chapter 527. Longao's words completely confused everyone. I can refine corpse slaves, but I need time. If I could refine millions of corpse slaves, our dragon sect would have already destroyed the 4 major forces and dominated the spirit domain of the 9 states. So that's how it is. Everyone was excited for nothing. They thought that the master could really refine millions of corpse slaves. However, when they heard that the master could refine corpse slaves, they let out a long sigh of relief. They didn't have to worry about the loss of corpse slaves. Sect leader, I wonder who the sect will send to defend against the beast tide this time? Everyone's heart was extremely complicated. They wanted to go, but they were also afraid. Everyone knew very well that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for everyone to perform. However, danger and opportunity coexisted. Smiling, Longao said, "This time, I plan to go personally." "Master, you can't do this." Hearing that the master wanted to go personally, everyone was shocked. What kind of joke was this? Anything could happen to anyone except for the master. After all, Longao was the soul of the dragon sect. If anything happened to him, what would the master do? Waving his hand, Longao said with a firm expression, "I have made up my mind. No need to say more. You only need to do one thing, and that is to guard the sect well." Everyone sighed deeply in their hearts and didn't continue to persuade him. There were still 3 days before the beast tide. Longao made some arrangements and immediately led the corpse slave army to the spirit domain of the 9 states. According to Duan Kai, the beast tide's base was at the northernmost border of the spirit domain of the 9 states. No one had truly stepped into the northernmost border because no one dared to. Longao could completely imagine that if the beast tide's base wasn't in the spirit domain of the 9 states, but in the ordinary spirit domain, what would the 4 major forces do? Would the 4 major forces still try their best to stop the beast tide? Longao didn't dare to guarantee, but he knew that the beast tide couldn't invade. Otherwise, not only would the spirit domain of the 9 states suffer, even the ordinary spirit domain would be destroyed. It was precisely because of this that Longao chose to join the ranks of those fighting against the beast tide without hesitation. The 4 great powers and the dragon sect all gathered in the imperial city. In order to resist the beast tide, the 4 great powers had each sent 10 half-saints and 2 saints. Only the dragon sect had sent 1 half-saint, Longao. However, none of the 4 major forces dared to underestimate the dragon sect because everyone knew that the dragon sect's corpse slave army was immortal and could fight against 10,000 people. Such an immortal army was far more practical than the value of 10 half-saints and 2 saints. As the saying goes, when enemies meet, their eyes blaze with hatred. The 2 saints from the ethereal palace were Fenghui and Liu Buming. The 2 of them had been depressed for a few days after Longao escaped. However, the beast tide was imminent, and they had to let go of all grievances. This was the agreement of the 4 forces. "Brother Duan, I forgot to ask you. What's the level of the most powerful being in the beast tide?" "No, Master Dragon. You haven't experienced the beast tide, so you don't know much about it. The beast tide occurs once every 10 years and the strength of the beast tide varies. Sometimes, there will be many illusionary divine spiritual beasts in the beast tide. However, most of the beast tides are inborn spiritual beasts, transformed spiritual beasts, and void spiritual beasts." So that was it. Longao finally knew why the 4 great powers had only sent 40 half-saints and 8 saints. The 4 great powers and the dragon sect met and immediately counted the number of people. Without any hesitation, 40,000 people and the corpse slave army marched towards the northernmost side. On the way, Fenghui's face was extremely gloomy as he said coldly, "Longao has the help of the corpse slave army. The dragon sect is becoming more and more stable. It seems that it will be very difficult for us to destroy the dragon sect." Waving his hand, Liu Buming suddenly sneered and said, "This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us. With the 4 great powers gathered together, we just need to convince the imperial city to deal with Longao together. I don't believe that we can't kill him in this beast tide." Hearing this, Fenghui smiled. Longao led the corpse slave army and walked at the back. Looking at the mighty army in front of him, he sighed in his heart. The 4 great powers were indeed the overlords of the 9 states' spirit domain. Their foundation was not something the dragon sect could compare to. 10,000 people. If the dragon sect were to casually take out 10,000 disciples, there was no doubt that the dragon sect would not be able to do so. It seemed that the 4 great powers had been holding back when dealing with him. The more the four great powers acted like this, the more careful Longao was. Who knew if the four great powers would suddenly launch a sneak attack? Even if it was the Imperial City, Longao was always on guard. As soon as Longao led the corpse slave army out of Tianzhou, the rank 3 Long family, Nether Mansion, and Ethereal Palace armies immediately began to attack Tianzhou. It could be said that they were extremely despicable. Not only that, the 3 great powers cut off all communication, so the Dragon Sect could not contact Longao at all. This time, the Dragon Sect could be considered a tragedy. This time, Longao took away all the corpse slaves and did not set up any defenses in the sect. The reason was very simple, and that was because Longao believed that in the face of the Beast Tide's invasion, the 4 great forces should not play any tricks. In the end, Longao thought too highly of the 4 great powers. The 3 great powers' armies were like wild beasts. This time, they entered Tianzhou and did not fight. Instead, they joined forces to deal with the Dragon Sect. At first, the Dragon Sect did not react. They were caught off guard and lost many disciples. Then, the Dragon Sect immediately retreated to the sect. Not a single disciple appeared. If it was before, the 3 great powers might not have dared to attack the Dragon Sect with the corpse slave army. However, Longao led the corpse slave army to the spirit domain of the 9 states to fight against the Beast Tide. This made the 3 great powers fearless. They all rushed into the Dragon Sect, ready to massacre and destroy the Dragon Sect. Thousands of people from the 3 factions marched into the Dragon Sect. Just as they were about to start a massacre, a terrifying emperor's aura enveloped them. Before the 3 factions could react, cries of agony rang out one after another. Then, corpses were strewn all over the place. Blood flowed like a river, and corpses were everywhere. They did not even see the other party's shadow. The 3 great powers had already lost 1/10 of their people. This time, the 3 great powers were completely shocked. When they thought of the Dragon Sect having a great emperor, the 3 great powers did not dare to stay. They were so scared that they peed their pants. But it was all too late. A huge fire qilin appeared in the sky. At this moment, the fire qilin had already recovered its peak strength. It would be a piece of cake for it to kill thousands of people. If it was the fire qilin from before, it would not be like this. However, ever since it knew that Longao was saved by the old ancestor, the fire qilin's attitude took a 180-degree turn. P.S. I was too tired last night because of something. I only woke up at 11:50 today. I have sinned. By the way, I would like to thank the Hall Master for the rewards. Chapter 528. The fire qilin's gigantic body covered the sky. Terrifying flames covered the sky and swarmed over. Screams of agony filled the air. In just a few minutes, the thousands of people from the 3 major forces were all slaughtered. Not even a corpse was left as everyone was burned to ashes. The fire qilin disappeared, and Ghost King, Snake Emperor, and the rest appeared. Only when they sensed the strong smell of blood in the air did they realize what had just happened. This was a great emperor spiritual beast. It was too terrifying. The news of the thousands of people from the 3 major forces being slaughtered by the Dragon Sect spread across the 9 prefectures. The 3 major forces almost collapsed when they heard the news. They had already guessed that the Dragon Sect had sent out a great emperor martial artist. A great emperor martial artist. Almost everyone in the 9 prefectures knew that the Dragon Sect had a titled Great Emperor. The Ethereal Palace originally thought that this titled Great Emperor was just an ordinary friend of Longao and was only there to intimidate them. But now, it seemed that the relationship between this titled Great Emperor and Longao wasn't trivial. At this moment, the 3 major forces were in extreme pain. The Imperial City was the happiest when the 3 major forces were defeated. This was because the Imperial City didn't participate in the attack on the Dragon Sect. It was a blessing in disguise. A titled Great Emperor was definitely a top-notch existence even among the 4 major forces. The 4 major forces wouldn't dare to provoke a titled Great Emperor. After successfully defeating the three major forces, Ghost King and Snake Emperor immediately ordered a lockdown on the news. No one was allowed to leak anything about the Fire Qilin. The entire dragon sect was united and didn't mention anything about the Fire Qilin. Therefore, the 9 prefectures didn't know about the Fire Qilin. The 9 prefectures' spirit region. The northernmost region was called the Forbidden Land of the 9 prefectures. Even the experts of the 4 major forces didn't dare to step in. The Forbidden Land of the 9 prefectures was also the origin of the Beast Tide. Every 10 years, the Beast Tide would appear and last for about 10 days. In order to protect the 9 prefectures, the Heaven and Earth sect personally sent out 10 Supreme Tao Array Masters to jointly set up a super array. However, this array had loopholes. Once the Beast Tide broke through, the consequences would be unimaginable. However, the Heaven and Earth sect refused to continue sending out Supreme Tao warriors to maintain the formation. Left with no other choice, the 4 superpowers would stubbornly resist every time the Beast Tide attacked. Moreover, after every Beast Tide, the 4 superpowers would suffer great losses. However, even so, the 4 superpowers would still attack every time the Beast Tide attacked. The northernmost part of the spirit domain of the 9 states. The 4 forces and the dragon sect arrived without a hitch. This was not the first time the 4 forces had faced off against the beast horde, so everything was in order. Everyone did their own thing. Only Longao did not know what to do. "Brother Duan, what should I do?" The 4 major powers were the East Royal City, the Long family of the West 3rd grade, the South Netherworld Mansion, and the North Misty Palace. The grudges between Longao and the 4 major forces were not small, but in the current situation, he was still in an alliance with the Imperial City. Therefore, it was better to ask the Imperial City about some things. "Master Dragon, your corpse slave army only needs to defend against the Beast Tide. As for the operation of the formation, only the 4 major forces know about it. Moreover, the Heaven and Earth sect gave a strict order that no matter who it is, no one is allowed to teach the activation and maintenance of the formation to anyone. Therefore, I understand." Longao did not continue talking nonsense. It was just a formation, it was as if he did not know how to do it. Although the Heaven and Earth sect had stipulated that the 4 major forces were not allowed to teach the activation and maintenance of the formation to anyone else, there was no rule that outsiders were not allowed to enter. Moreover, Longao was one of the main forces resisting the Beast Tide. After entering the formation, Longao carefully observed the formation. No matter what, Longao was also a formation master. Moreover, he did not neglect the Tao of formations while cultivating the 9 heavens 10 earths killing formation. In just a few minutes, Longao had already observed that the formation set up by the Heaven and Earth sect was the 9 heavens 10 earths killing formation that Yi Wuxuan had set up earlier. Longao knew very well that the Heaven and Earth sect had sent out 10 Supreme Tao formation martial artists to set up the 9 heavens 10 earths killing formation. It was extremely powerful, and it was not something that the 9 heavens 10 earths killing formation set up by Yi Wuxuan could compare to. Longao was very familiar with the 9 heavens 10 earths killing formation. He was overjoyed and immediately immersed himself in the formation. Longao would not give up this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity so easily because sensing the 9 heavens 10 earths killing formation would be very beneficial to his Tao of formations. "Patriarch, Longao has been in the formation for an entire day and night. He won't be up to anything, right?" The Grade 3 Long family also sent out 10 half-saints and 2 saints this time. However, for some reason, the Grade 3 Long family's patriarch, Long Maoan, and Elder Long Yan came personally this time. "Humph, the 9 heavens 10 earths killing formation is the Heaven and Earth sect's ultimate formation." Not to mention that Longao isn't a formation master, even if he is, it's impossible for him to comprehend such a super formation. Array masters were considered to be above martial artists. Similarly, formation masters were very rare, 1 in 10,000. Moreover, it was 10 times or even 100 times more difficult to become a powerful formation master than a powerful martial artist. Because of this, Long Maoan looked down on Longao. From the beginning, Long Maoan thought that as long as the Long family wanted to, they could destroy Longao at any time. At the end of the day, the Grade 3 Long family was still wary of the other three forces. Patriarch, this time Longao has brought the corpse slave army here. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us. Ethereal Palace and Nether Mansion have already come to me and said that they are willing to work together to deal with Longao. No matter what happens, we can't let Longao leave the forbidden land of the 9 states. Nodding, Long Maoan said, Ethereal Palace and Nether Mansion have no problem. The only problem now is the Imperial City. I didn't expect that the Imperial City and Longao would really work together. If the Imperial City insists on protecting Longao, we will be in trouble. Patriarch, it's simple. As everyone knows, the Imperial City and Longao are working together just to make use of each other. If there's a chance to kill Longao, I can say that the Imperial City wants to kill Longao more than anyone else. Long Yen continued. Back then, Longao killed Duan He's son and Duan Kai's grandson. The Imperial City hasn't settled the score yet. I don't know about Duan Kai, but I can say that Duan He will definitely take revenge. So, Patriarch, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to kill Longao. If we miss it, with this kid's talent and potential, and the Long family's movements, we won't have a chance. Yes, I understand. You go and contact the Imperial City later. Also, call the Nether Mansion and Ethereal Palace. But remember, no matter what, we have to wait until the Beast Horde is defeated. If the Beast Horde and Longao disappear together, we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. At that time, Longao will have to sacrifice himself for the 9 states. It will be too easy for him. P.S. Originally, it was going to happen on the 14th and 15th. Now that there is an Alliance Master, Xiao Jiu has already discussed with the Alliance Master and decided to add 10 more chapters on the 15th and 16th. Consider it as a congratulations and thanks to the first Alliance Master. Chapter 529. Long Yen secretly met with the top decision-makers of the other 3 forces to discuss how to deal with Longao. In a secret place in the forbidden grounds of the 9 prefectures. Long Yen found Duan Kai and went straight to the point. Brother Duan, although I don't know why the Imperial City and Longao have formed an alliance, I can tell you one thing. The Nether Mansion and the Ethereal Palace have agreed to kill Longao this time. What does the Imperial City think? Duan Kai seemed to have guessed this, so he wasn't surprised. Nodding, Duan Kai said, If you're confident, the Imperial City has no problem. Before Long Yen could speak, Duan Kai continued. It's not difficult to deal with Longao, but the Imperial City has a condition. Tell me. Long Yen didn't agree immediately. No matter what, he was only a rank 3 Long family Grand Elder. Even if he could make a decision for the Long family, he couldn't represent the Nether Mansion and the Ethereal Palace. Duan Kai said, Longao killed my grandson. I won't let this go easily, so my condition is simple. I want to kill Longao personally, and the dragon sect will belong to the Imperial City. Duan Kai wasn't a fool. He knew that there must be something good in the dragon sect, so he wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to ask for an exorbitant price. Long Yan's expression turned serious. Once Longao was killed, he believed that the other 4 forces would want the dragon sect. Brother Duan, I can't guarantee this. I have to go back and discuss it with the family head. Seeing Long Yen turn and leave, Duan Kai's lips slowly curled into a cold smile. Regarding the shamelessness of the 4 great forces, Longao did not know from the beginning to the end. At this moment, Longao was in the 9 heavens 10 earths killing formation, studying it carefully. The more he comprehended, the more incredulous he felt. The 9 heavens 10 earths killing formation used heaven and earth as the foundation and spiritual energy as the supplement. Once trapped in the formation, one would be killed. After comprehending for a day and a night, Longao didn't continue because the beast tide was about to start. The 4 great factions had all entered the formation, and according to the arrangement of the 4 great factions, Longao was to lead the corpse demon army to stand guard at the front of the formation to resist the beast tide's attack. The meaning of the four major powers was very simple. The corpse slave army had an undying body and could fight against 10,000 people. A corpse slave army could fight against 10,000 people. Normally, Longao would not do this because he knew very well that the four forces wanted to use his corpse slave army as cannon fodder to weaken the dragon sect's strength. Longao couldn't care less about the beast horde's invasion. He had to deal with the beast horde first. The day of the beast tide's invasion had finally arrived. Hiss, hiss. Crackle, crackle. At this moment, a terrifying aura instantly spread throughout the forbidden grounds of the 9 states. Before anyone could figure out what was going on, an earth-shattering roar suddenly came from the depths of the forbidden grounds of the 9 states. Following that, countless spirit beasts emerged from the forbidden grounds of the 9 states. There were all kinds of spirit beasts, and there was no end to them. It was impossible to tell how many spirit beasts there were. Seeing the endless amount of spirit beasts rushing out, Longao was also shocked. He didn't dare to be careless, and immediately turned around to leave. The four major powers were very despicable and shameless. They had obviously arranged for Longao to be at the front, where he could be considered as cannon fodder. Although he knew this, Longao had always thought that he could rely on the corpse slave army to resist the beast tide. But now, Longao only needed a glance to understand the terror of the beast tide. It was impossible to resist the beast tide with just the corpse slave army. Longao wasn't a fool. If he took the corpse slaves with him, he believed that he wouldn't be able to leave. He cursed in his heart. The four major powers didn't tell him that the beast tide would be so terrifying. So many spirit beasts rushed out at once, covering the sky and covering the earth. The corpse slave army formed a row. As long as Longao gave the order, the corpse slave army would not retreat even half a step, regardless of whether it was climbing a mountain of blades or diving into a sea of fire. In an instant, the endless amount of spirit beasts rushed over and devoured the corpse slave army. Before Longao could leave, the spirit beasts had already caught up with him. In desperation, Longao could only choose to meet force with force. His body released the aura of heaven and earth, forming an air shield to cover the spirit beasts around him. The blood-sucking blade in his hand had already slashed out fiercely. Seeing Longao being besieged by the spirit beasts, everyone from the four major powers was overjoyed. They didn't care about Longao at all and immediately activated the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation. The terrifying killing power covered all the exits around. The 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation was jointly set up by the 10 Supreme Tao formation martial artists of the Heaven and Earth sect. Its power was indescribable. Otherwise, how could the four major powers resist the attack of the endless spirit beasts? As a sage-to-be martial artist, Longao wasn't afraid of any spirit beasts, unless a sage-to-be spirit beast appeared. However, the problem now was that there were endless spirit beasts attacking continuously. How many spirit beasts could Longao kill with his strength alone? Even if he wasn't killed, he would be exhausted to death. Regarding this point, Longao knew it clearly. At this moment, Longao was furious to the extreme. It was because of the four major powers scheme that he was in such a passive position. Even the undying corpse slave army was instantly devoured by the spirit beasts. Scheming. If it was the usual Longao, how could he be schemed by the four major powers? But for the spirit beast this time, Longao had used all his strength. In Longao's opinion, the four major powers would also use all their strength to resist the invasion of the spirit beasts together. But the result? With a roar, Longao finally used spatial teleportation. His body instantly appeared 1 meter away. If it was an ordinary person, he would have died in the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation. But Longao's situation was completely different. Longao was very familiar with the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation. Although he couldn't set up such a super formation, it was more than enough to find a place to take refuge. After a day and night of comprehension, Longao wasn't lying. He endured the waves of weakness coming from his soul and continuously used spatial teleportation. After a few ups and downs, Longao had disappeared without a trace. The four major powers were baffled. Could it be that Longao had been devoured by the spirit beasts? Of course, everyone in the four major powers didn't know about Longao's spatial teleportation. But when Longao was devoured by the spirit beasts, the four major powers were incomparably excited. Especially in the imperial city, Duan Kai and Duan He couldn't help but laugh. In this battle, not only did they avenge their son, but they also obtained the dragon sect. It was killing two birds with one stone. Longao was dead, but the four major powers didn't dare to be careless. They were still maintaining the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation. As long as they could hold on for 10 days, the spirit beasts would slowly recede. At this time, the 40,000 people brought by the four major powers all rushed into the formation and fought with the spirit beasts. It was the most savage and the most tragic battle. Chapter 530. The beast tide included all kinds of spirit beasts. Among them, there were many spirit beasts in the half-saint realm. The reason why the four superpowers sent their disciples to fight the spirit beasts was simple. The 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation was set up by the 10 supreme Tao formation masters of heaven and earth sect. Its power was limited and couldn't kill all the spirit beasts. Once the spirit beasts broke through the formation, the consequences were obvious. Because of this, every time the beast tide attacked, the disciples brought by the four superpowers would lose their lives in the formation. The four superpowers didn't tell anyone the truth about this. In the formation, no matter if it was spirit beasts or martial artists, their lives weren't important. They could be killed at any time. More and more corpses were piled up on the ground. The blood turned into streams and flowed in all directions. Longao was hiding in a corner of the formation where spirit beasts couldn't be found. He believed that even the four superpowers wouldn't be able to find this place. Longao already knew about the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation. After studying it for a day and a night, even if he couldn't set it up, he had a clear understanding of it. Longao turned a blind eye to the battle between the beast tide and the four superpowers because he already knew the ins and outs of the matter. The four superpowers didn't invite him to fight the beast tide with him. Their main purpose was to kill him with the help of the beast tide. How shameless the four superpowers were. The most shameless one was Imperial City. They were in an alliance, but they deliberately set him up. Fortunately, they didn't bring their sex army. Otherwise, all of them would have died here. You're heartless. Don't blame me for being unjust. Longao clenched his fists tightly. All along, Longao had followed a principle. If people didn't offend him, he wouldn't offend them. If people offended him, he would pay them back double. However, at this moment, Longao didn't act recklessly. He would reap the benefits by watching the fire from the other side of the river. The beast tide and the four superpowers were fighting. When the beast tide retreated, the four superpowers would have been wiped out. At that time, it wouldn't be too late for him to take action. The 40,000 disciples of the four major powers fought the spirit beasts one by one. However, there were too many spirit beasts. They were not afraid of death at all. When one died, 3 to 5 more would continue to attack. In a one-on-one fight, the four major powers might not lose, but in a group fight, not to mention 40,000 disciples, even if the four major powers sent 400,000 disciples, the result would still be the same. The intention of the four major forces was very clear. The 40,000 disciples were to be used as cannon fodder. As long as they could hold on for a certain period of time, the four major forces would activate the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing array and easily suppress the beast tide. Every 10 years, the four great powers would lose 40,000 disciples, or even more. It would be a lie to say that his heart didn't ache. After all, the disciples that they had painstakingly nurtured over the past 10 years were all going to disappear in just 10 days. If not for the fact that the beast stampede was related to the survival of the four major forces, the four major forces would definitely not do such a thing. At this time, three tall figures suddenly appeared. Seeing that all the spirit beasts were avoiding them, Longao and the upper echelons of the four major forces were all shocked because they already knew what had happened. Three sacred beasts had appeared, and they were at the sage level. The four major forces were afraid of the appearance of sacred beasts at the sage level because in that case, the four major forces would also have to have sages to take action. Otherwise, the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing array would not be able to trap the beast tide. The 8 sages of the four major forces all had their own ulterior motives and were unwilling to take action. After all, whoever chose to take action at this time would be unlucky. It was precisely because of this that the 8 sages of the four major forces were unwilling to take action when 3 sacred beasts at the sage level appeared in the beast tide. The longer the delay, the more disadvantageous it would be for the four major forces. If it were the previous four major forces, they would probably fight to be the first to take action. After all, once the beast tide broke through the 9 states, not only the 9 states, but also the four major forces would be plunged into misery and suffering. Longao cursed the four major forces fiercely in his heart. He despised them to the extreme. Just like this, the appearance of the 3 sacred beasts made the beast tide even more ferocious. Each of them roared and charged forward. The beast tide originally had the advantage, but now it was like a wolf in a flock of sheep, forcing the four major forces to retreat. This time, the beast tide seemed to be more ferocious, and did not give the four major forces any chance to react. "Family head, what should we do?" Long Yan's expression was extremely ugly because according to the situation, the beast tide could break through the formation at any time and enter the 9 states. If that were to happen, the consequences would be unimaginable. "Humph, Nether Mansion, Ethereal Palace, and Imperial City are all shameless. They want to take advantage of us. I would rather die than take action." Long Maoan was not a fool. If the two of them went out, even if they could resist the 3 sacred beasts, they would most likely be in danger. In this way, the Long clan would suffer a great loss and the other 3 major forces would benefit. "Family head, then what should we do? Who's afraid of who? At most, we'll face the beast tide together." At the same time, Duan Kai and Duan He were cursing the other 3 major forces. Duan Kai said, "We could have stopped the beast tide if we worked together, but it seems like the other 3 forces want to take advantage of us. How shameless! Father, what should we do now?" "Wait and see. I don't believe that the other 3 forces are not worried when the beast tide comes to the 9 states. The East Royal City, the Long Clan of the West, the Nether Mansion of the South, and the Ethereal Palace of the North all had their own plans. The 8 saints were not willing to take action, causing the beast tide to close in. Almost 10,000 of the 40,000 disciples had died. At this rate, the 40,000 disciples would be wiped out sooner or later. Even so, the 8 saints of the 4 major forces were not willing to take action. They were all waiting for the other forces to take action first. Because of this, the beast tide had unknowingly approached the core of the formation. Seeing this situation, Longao finally understood what was going on. For their own selfish desires, the 4 major forces were not prepared to make a move. This way, they would give the beast horde an opportunity. Then, the chance of the beast horde breaking through the formation and descending upon the 9 regions would be infinitely greater. Longao knew very well that once the beast tide came to the 9 states, even if it was only for 10 days, the 9 states would not be able to resist. By then, the 9 states would inevitably be in a terrible situation. Corpses would be everywhere and blood would flow like rivers. A bunch of bastards. Seeing that the beast tide was about to break through the formation, Longao finally suppressed his impulse. After all, it was impossible for him to fight against the entire beast tide alone. Unless he was courting death, Longao was not that stupid. Chapter 531. Longao watched helplessly as the beast tide was about to break through the formation. However, He was powerless and could only watch helplessly. 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation. Longao knew very well that if the 10 supreme path warriors of the heaven and earth sect were to guard the formation, its power would be multiplied by 100 times. However, the situation was different now. At this moment, the 3 sacred beasts began to attack the formation. As time passed, more and more spiritual beasts appeared. This was something that had never happened before in the previous 10 beast horde. Seeing this, the 4 forces finally realized the severity of the situation. Not daring to delay any longer, the 8 saints and 40 half-saints moved together. However, at this moment, everyone helplessly realized that the situation was no longer under their control. The 3 sacred beasts, along with the endless number of spiritual beasts, slammed into the formation. With a loud boom, the entire formation began to shake violently. The heavens fell and the earth cracked. The entire forbidden land of the 9 states seemed to be shaking. Everyone was completely shocked because everyone knew what was happening. All of them turned pale with fright. Clan leader, the beast horde is about to break through the formation. What should we do now? Longmao's face was extremely gloomy and ugly. He knew very well what it meant when the beast horde broke through the formation and descended upon the 9 states. Not only the 9 states, but even the 4 forces would find it difficult to defend against the beast horde. Retreat. Retreat? Long Yen thought that he had heard wrongly. No matter what, once the 4 forces retreated, the beast horde would definitely break through the formation. By then, the 4 forces would truly become the sinners of the 9 states. We can no longer stop the beast horde from breaking through. Rather than that, we might as well leave this place as soon as possible and return to the family to prepare. This way, we can minimize our losses. Clan leader, if we really do that, our family would truly become the sinners of the 9 states. Let's go. Long Maon obviously did not want to stay any longer. He immediately turned and left with the 10 half-saints. In the blink of an eye, they had disappeared without a trace. Father, I just saw Long Maon leave with the Long family. Duan Kai was not surprised at all because he knew that since things had come to this point, even he had to leave, let alone Long Maon. Otherwise, only death awaited him. Let's retreat too. Duan he let out a deep sigh of joy in his heart. He did not know how things had developed to such a stage. They could have clearly blocked the Beast Tide's attack, but the result was the exact opposite. The rank 3 Long family, Imperial City, and Nether Mansion retreated at the same time, leaving only the ethereal palace behind. Among the 4 major forces, the Misty Palace was more responsible than the other 3. However, the Misty Palace would definitely leave. Given the current situation, there would only be one outcome if they continued to stay. The Misty Palace's losses would definitely be greater than the other 3. Feng Wei and Lu Bumming would never let this happen. If we work together, the Beast Tide won't be able to break the formation. The prejudice between the 4 major powers is too great. They all want to destroy each other. If we can do it this time, I believe that the next time, or even the time after that, the result will be the same. Rather than that, we might as well come earlier. With a deep sigh, Feng Wei said, "The Beast Tide has invaded the spirit domain of the 9 states. Our 4 forces are the first to bear the brunt. Whether it is the spirit domain of the 9 states or the ordinary spirit domain, it seems that the people will inevitably be plunged into misery and suffering, and blood will flow like rivers. We can no longer stop it. Since that's the case, we can only minimize the sect's losses. As for other things, there's nothing we can do. Let's go." With the departure of the Misty Palace, the 4 major powers had all retreated. In this way, the 9 heavens 10 earths killing formation could no longer trap the Beast Tide. With a loud bang, the Beast Tide finally broke the formation and swarmed out. Looking at the endless number of spirit beasts rushing out of the formation and towards the 9 states, Long Ao's expression was very ugly. The 4 major powers, the ones who caused all this were the 4 major powers. The invasion of the Beast Tide occurred once every 10 years. However, with the 9 heavens 10 earths killing formation set up by the 10 supreme Tao formation masters of the heaven and earth sect and the protection of the 4 major powers, no matter how many years it had been, the beast tide had never succeeded. Only this time, because the 4 major powers each had their own ulterior motives and were unwilling to take action, the beast tide finally broke the formation and attacked. Longao could completely imagine what would happen once the beast tide entered the spirit domain of the 9 states. Not to mention the ordinary sects and families, just the 4 major powers alone would find it difficult to resist the attack of the beast tide. The invasion of the beast tide was like the end of the world. In the Dragon Seal space. Long Fu, is there any way to stop the beast tide from invading the 9 states? As soon as he entered the Dragon Seal space, Longao couldn't wait to ask. In fact, Longao wanted to ask if the primordial divine dragon could help to scare off the beast tide and drive it back. Longao was very clear that the primordial divine dragon was the ancestor of the dragon race, and was also the strongest divine beast in the world. Once the primordial divine dragon appeared, its aura alone was enough to scare off all spirit beasts. In the beast tide, no matter what kind of spirit beast it was, there wasn't a single divine beast. There wasn't even a great emperor spirit beast. In front of the primordial divine dragon, even the strongest saint beast was like trash. However, Longao didn't have the nerve to ask because the primordial divine dragon had injured its vitality in order to save him. Who knew if it had recovered by now? Master, I can't stop the beast tide from invading the 9 states. I believe that even the old master can't stop it. The matter has already been settled. Why don't you enter the beast tide forbidden area? There might be something you want there. Beast tide forbidden area? Hearing that Long Fu wanted him to enter the beast tide forbidden area, Longao was startled. Before he came, the Fire Qilin had warned him that no matter what happened, he couldn't enter the beast tide forbidden area. Not only was there a 90% chance of death, there was no chance of survival. Long Fu, what is in the beast tide forbidden area? Good stuff. But Master, the beast tide forbidden area is also filled with danger. If Master is worried. Waving his hand, Longao also knew that since the matter had already reached this stage, there was nothing he could do to change it. Since that was the case, he might as well enter the beast tide forbidden area and see what the good stuff Long Fu was talking about was. Longao was never afraid of danger because he knew that danger and opportunity would always coexist. If he was only afraid of danger, then he wouldn't have had his current achievements. Because of this, Longao didn't even think about it as he said, Long Fu, since that's the case, I'll enter the beast tide forbidden area. After saying that, Longao immediately left the Dragon Seal space. All along, Longao wasn't a person who was sloppy. He immediately did what he said and immediately walked towards the beast tide forbidden area. At this moment, the beast tide had already left and was heading towards the 9 states. Chapter 532. In the Dragon Seal space. As soon as Longao left, the immemorial divine dragon's body suddenly appeared in the blood pool. The primordial divine dragon's majestic voice suddenly rang out as the figure danced in the air. Old Master, is this a good idea? Longao's development is too slow. At this rate, I can't wait any longer. It turned out that the beast tide had broken through the 9 heavens 10 earths killing formation because of the immemorial divine dragon's sudden attack. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been easy for the beast tide to break through the formation. The immemorial divine dragon's intention was very simple. He wanted to help Longao develop. If Longao knew about this, he wouldn't know whether to laugh or cry. Because the immemorial divine dragon was doing this for him, and for him. However, it had unknowingly harmed the 9 prefectures. Old Master, even if Master obtains that treasure, it won't be of any use. Since that's the case, why not wait a few more years? When Master reaches the Great Emperor realm and obtains this treasure, he will be able to unleash its full power. I can't care so much anymore. Whether it succeeds or not depends on Longao's luck. Longao didn't know about this from the beginning to the end. He always thought that the beast tide had broken through the formation because the four great forces had their own ulterior motives. Longao raised his spirits and carefully walked towards the forbidden area of the beast tide. Thousands of beast tides had entered the 9 prefectures, but there wasn't a single spirit beast in the forbidden area. The 9 prefectures. The news of the beast tide instantly spread throughout the 9 prefectures' spirit domain and the ordinary spirit domain. Anyone who received the news was shocked. Before the small forces of the 9 prefectures' spirit domain could react, countless spirit beasts had already rushed in. They killed anyone they saw without any mercy. The 4 great forces. The Eastern Royal City, the Western Third-Rank Long Family, the Southern Nether Mansion, and the Northern Ethereal Palace didn't care about the lives of the other forces. Other than protecting their own sects, they also moved their cities as quickly as possible. At this time, the 4 great forces' foundation was fully revealed. Half-saints and saints had all been mobilized. Moreover, earth saints and even heavenly saints had appeared from the 4 major forces. With this, it would not be easy for the beast tide to attack the 4 major forces. The 4 major forces were fine, but the other smaller forces were in trouble. Some ran and some hid, but even so, there were still many large clans and sects that were devoured by the beast horde. This was especially so for the ordinary people. Facing the terrifying beast horde, they had no strength to resist at all and could only be devoured. What happened in the spirit realm of the 9 states had already spread to the normal spirit realm. The 9 prefectures, Heaven Prefecture, Earth Prefecture, Sun Prefecture, Moon Prefecture, Sunset Prefecture, Cloud Prefecture, Crimson Prefecture, Illusion Prefecture, and Black Forest Prefecture were all scared out of their wits. While they were cursing the 4 great powers, the 9 prefectures were in complete chaos. Who wouldn't be afraid of this kind of destruction? No one in the 9 prefectures knew what to do. After all, the beast tide was too terrifying. Even the 4 major forces didn't dare to fight the beast tide head-on. According to reliable sources, the beast tide would last for 10 days. According to the terrifying strength of the beast tide, not to mention 10 days, even 3 days would be enough to destroy the entire 9 prefectures. No one in the 9 prefectures knew what to do because according to the news, the spirit realm of the 9 prefectures had already been devoured by the beast tide. It was believed that in at most 1 day, it would spread to the normal spirit realm. At that time, the people would be in a terrible situation, blood would flow like rivers, and corpses would be everywhere. Everyone was incomparably afraid, as if they were waiting for death. Dragon Sect Great Hall. Everyone had received the news from the master that the beast tide had been confirmed. According to Longao's instructions, they immediately brought all the forces in the 9 prefectures and discussed with the 4 great powers to seal the teleportation channel. This way, the normal spirit realm would be spared and wouldn't be invaded by the beast tide. Ghost King Aotian's expression was extremely ugly as he said, "I believe that everyone already knows the ins and outs of the matter. Just now, the master sent back a message, asking us to unite the 9 prefectures and find the 4 great powers to seal the so-called teleportation channel. What do you all think?" Everyone helplessly shrugged their shoulders. Since the master had said so, how could they go against it? Since the master has said so, then we should quickly contact the 9 prefectures and explain this matter to the 4 great powers. Ghost King Aotian's expression was extremely solemn. He waved his hand and sighed. This matter isn't as simple as it seems. If the 4 great powers are willing, I believe that they will immediately seal the teleportation channel. Before anyone could speak, Aotian continued. We need time to contact the 9 prefectures. Even if the 4 great powers are willing, I'm afraid that it will be too late. According to the speed of the beast tide, I believe that it will reach the 9 prefectures by tomorrow. No one refuted Ghost King Aotian's words because it was the truth. Once they thought of the beast tide invading the 9 prefectures, everyone's expression became even more solemn. The beast tide, according to the information they received, was too terrifying. Although this is the truth, the Master has already given the order. We must obey it. This is a must. No matter what, we can't let anything happen to the 9 prefectures. Before Ghost King Aotian could finish speaking, an earth-shattering roar came from outside, giving Aotian and the others a fright. Immediately after, a disciple of the dragon sect ran in and said anxiously, "All the forces of the 9 prefectures have gathered at the sect. They said that they are requesting the sect to help them avoid this calamity." Hearing this, everyone's face was filled with joy. Because all the forces of the 9 prefectures had gathered at the dragon sect, it saved the dragon sect a lot of trouble and time. If this was the case, the 9 prefectures still had a chance. As long as the 4 great powers closed all the teleportation channels, the beast tide would not be able to enter the 9 prefectures and the 9 prefectures would be completely safe. The news that Longao brought back had already explained the beast tide very clearly. The beast tide would only last for 10 days. Once the time was up, the beast tide would automatically retreat. Therefore, the remaining few days were especially important. The life and death of the 9 prefectures depended on this. All the forces of the 9 prefectures gathered at the dragon sect. Ghost King Aotian did not hesitate, and immediately set off for the 9 prefectures' spirit domain, hoping that the 4 great powers would close the teleportation channels as soon as possible. The 4 great powers did not care about the teleportation channels during the beast tide's invasion this time. However, in the end, the 4 great powers did not want anything to happen to the 9 prefectures. After all, the 9 prefectures were the foundation of the 9 prefectures' spirit domain. If anything happened to the 9 prefectures, it would not benefit the 4 great powers. Because of this, when the Ghost King brought all the forces of the 9 prefectures to communicate with the 4 great powers, the 4 great powers immediately closed all the teleportation channels. This way, the beast tide would be blocked in the 9 prefectures' spirit domain, and would not be able to enter the 9 prefectures' continent. At this moment, everyone in the 9 prefectures could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Chapter 533. The beast tide couldn't enter the 9 prefectures, so it wreaked havoc in the spirit region of the 9 prefectures. Ordinary forces couldn't stop the beast tide. In just 5 days, the spirit region of the 9 prefectures had fallen into a state of death. Everyone was within reach. As the overlords of the spirit region of the 9 prefectures, the 4 major forces should have stood out. However, at this moment, the 4 major forces couldn't even take care of themselves. How could they have the time to meddle in other people's business? The beast tide didn't have the slightest emotion. There was only one word: slaughter. The spirit region of the 9 prefectures, the forbidden area of the 9 prefectures, was the so-called forbidden area of the beast tide. After listening to Long Fu's words, Longao slowly walked towards the forbidden area of the beast tide. Step by step, he was cautious and alert at all times. No matter what, the forbidden area of the beast tide was the base camp of the beast tide. Who knew what was in the forbidden area of the beast tide? If he was unlucky and died here, wouldn't he suffer a double loss? At this moment, Longao was very worried about the safety of the 9 prefectures and the sect. No matter what, the beast tide was too powerful. Once it entered the 9 prefectures, no one knew what would happen. He hoped that the beast tide wouldn't invade the 9 prefectures. Longao knew very well that as long as the 4 major forces closed the transmission channel in time, the beast tide wouldn't be able to enter the 9 prefectures. Slowly, Longao entered the pitch-black forest. Ancient trees covered the sky and even the sun couldn't be seen. Inside the forbidden area of the beast tide, Longao couldn't feel any temperature. It was as if he was in the depths of ice. Even if he was in the half-saint realm, he couldn't help but shiver. Who is it? At this moment, Longao was startled. Suddenly, there were ghostly cries and howls. Then, a strange aura descended. It seemed to be able to corrode one's soul. Not daring to be careless, Longao immediately channeled all the energy in his body to resist. Even so, the terrifying howls made his mind chaotic. There were a few times when the aura almost invaded his body. The forbidden area of the beast tide was indeed full of danger. Before entering the deepest area of the forbidden area, he was almost instantly killed. If this went on, even if he could reach the deepest area, he would suffer. Longao was a persistent person. No matter what kind of difficulties he encountered, as long as he didn't die, he would persevere. No matter how difficult it was, no matter how dangerous it was. It was precisely because of this that Longao moved forward step by step, resisting the corrosion of the surrounding auras. The chi shield formed by the chi of heaven and earth blocked all the corrosive chi in the surroundings. Only at this moment did Longao truly let out a sigh of relief. Since he had already blocked it, Longao did not hesitate at all. He immediately sped up and shot towards the depths. As he went deeper and deeper, Longao could feel that the corrosive aura around him was getting colder and stronger. If he wasn't careful, he would be corroded. Master, to the left. With regards to Long Fu, Longao did not have the slightest suspicion and immediately shot towards the left. In the deepest part of the forest, there was a mass grave. There were skeletons everywhere. Some belonged to humans, some belonged to spirit beasts. At a glance, there were skeletons everywhere. This was a true field of corpses. Long Fu, who do you mean? Did the beast tide appear from here? Master, of course not. However, this is the only way. In ancient times, there was a chaotic battle here. Warriors and spirit beasts killed each other. It was extremely tragic. In the end, the humans sent out a demon god to wipe out all the people and spirit beasts. In the end, he absorbed all the resentment here. Wipe out all the people and spirit beasts. Hearing this, Longao's heart thumped. Just thinking about it made him realize how terrifying the strength of this human warrior was. Master, this human warrior is called the demon god. In ancient times, he was considered a demon. He killed people without batting an eye and was despised by the world. Long Fu, since this is the case, why did you bring me here? Longao was very curious. Could it be that the demon god had already fallen and Long Fu wanted him to go there to inherit the demon god's position? It was fine if others did not know, but it was impossible for Long Fu not to know. He did not need any inheritance at all. Otherwise, he would have already obtained the divine path inheritance. Why would he go through so much trouble? Master, back then, the demon god accidentally obtained a treasure. This treasure is very heaven-defying. If you can obtain and refine it, it will be of great help to your cultivation. Therefore, Master, you must obtain this treasure. I see. Long Fu, I am very curious about one thing. Since this treasure is so heaven-defying, why did the demon god leave it behind? Master, there's something you don't know. Back when the Fiend Celestial absorbed the grievances here, he was suddenly attacked by a divine beast. The Fiend Celestial was no match for the divine beast and his life was in danger. In that moment of danger, the Fiend Celestial used this treasure to barely seal the divine beast. Hearing this, Longao was delighted. Long Fu, if I can obtain this treasure, won't I be able to obtain a sealed divine beast? Master, this is what I am worried about. Although there is a divine beast sealed in the treasure, if you are not careful, you will be devoured by the divine beast. Long Fu did not continue speaking, but the meaning in his words was very clear. Longao also became serious. After all, the backlash of a divine beast was no small matter. If he was unlucky and was devoured by the divine beast, he would not even have the chance to regret. Although he was worried, Longao still could not choose to give up. He nodded and asked, "Where is this treasure?" Then, Longao followed Long Fu's guidance all the way to the west. He took a detour and finally stopped in front of a stone wall. Long Fu, the treasure you are talking about, is it inside the stone wall? Master, it is. However, you have to be careful. There is a divine beast of the divine realm sealed in the stone wall. Divine beast of the divine realm? Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao was shocked. Of course, he knew what a divine beast of the divine realm represented. Divine beasts were the same as martial artists. There were 5 realms of the divine path. They were the empty god realm, the spirit focus realm, the man god realm, the earth god realm, and the divine realm. It could be said that the divine realm was the pinnacle of the divine path. Longao found it hard to imagine that there was a divine beast of the divine realm sealed in the stone wall in front of him. If that was the case, he had to be careful. Otherwise, if he was devoured by the divine beast, the consequences would be unimaginable. Long Fu, what should I do? Master, why don't you refine this stone wall first? After you have completely refined it, I believe you will be able to control the divine beast and obtain this treasure. It would be a lie to say that he was not excited about controlling a divine beast. After all, the divine beast sealed in the stone wall was a divine beast of the divine realm. If he could control it, wouldn't he be able to do whatever he wanted? Longao did not dare to be careless. He released his aura and slowly approached the stone wall. Just as Long Fu said, he had to refine it first. Chapter 534. Longao's aura penetrated the stone wall. Before Longao could react, an unparalleled power suddenly erupted from the stone wall, directly devouring him. Shocked, Longao didn't know what was going on, but he instinctively resisted. But even so, Longao still groaned and flew out, vomiting blood. If it wasn't for the desolate divine body, Longao would have been dead by now. Longao turned around and stopped abruptly. He looked at the stone wall in front of him with a grave expression. Enduring the pain in his body, Longao asked in a grave voice, Long Fu, what's going on? Long Fu also sighed. It seemed that Long Fu didn't expect something like this to happen. Master, your luck is too good. If you didn't condense the desolate divine body, you would have died just now. Longao nodded his head. Regarding this point, Longao naturally knew it clearly. Master, I never thought that the divine beast sealed in the stone wall would be so powerful that it could even steal your soul through the seal. So that's how it was. Longao finally understood what had happened just now. It turned out that it was the divine beast sealed behind the stone wall that was causing trouble. Longao's expression became more and more grave. The divine beast behind the stone wall was too powerful. It was worthy of being a divine beast at the heavenly god realm. Long Fu, what should I do now? Master, let me think. Even Long Fu couldn't do anything. Longao shrugged helplessly and didn't continue speaking. He then left the dragon seal space. Longao didn't sit and wait for death. He waited for Long Fu to think of a way. Instead, he carefully observed the stone wall in front of him. With the previous lesson, Longao was much more careful. At the very least, he wouldn't get close to the stone wall, nor would he release his aura to get close to the stone wall. Brat, come again if you have the ability. Damn you, I'll kill you. Who is it? If you have the ability to come out, why do you have to sneak around? Hearing the sudden voice, Longao was shocked. Because with his current strength, he actually couldn't sense the slightest bit of the other party's aura. What did this mean? The other party's strength was far beyond his understanding. Ha ha ha, shameless brat, I'm dying of laughter. Ha 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 ha. Stone wall seal. In an instant, Longao stared fixedly at the stone wall in front of him. His face was extremely stern and cold because he had already sensed that the owner of the voice was the divine beast sealed in the stone wall. Divine beasts, especially heavenly god divine beasts. What are you laughing at? A divine beast sealed by a stone wall? I'm already puzzled. What are you being so arrogant for? You scared me just now. Trash. There wasn't any rage as he had imagined. The stone wall was silent, which made Longao very curious. Could it be that the mythological beast inside the stone wall had become stupid after being scolded by him? What's your name? Longao. Long family disciple? I'm a disciple of the Long family, but I'm not a disciple of the Long family. You have to be clear about this. Longao's meaning was very clear. From the beginning to the end, Longao had never regarded himself as a disciple of the Long family. Not in the past, not now, and definitely not in the future. The mythological beast inside the stone wall seemed to be a little surprised, but it didn't continue to ask this question. Brat, you seem to already know my identity. Although I don't know what kind of mythological beast you are, I can be sure that you're a heavenly god divine beast. Back then, you fought with the demon god and were unfortunately sealed by the demon god. Bullshit, I'm sealed by the demon god? Brat, you're courting death. I don't know the process, I only know the result. What I see now is that you've been sealed in the stone wall and can't come out. Am I wrong? The mythological beast inside the stone wall fell into silence again. At this time, a weathered and helpless voice suddenly sounded from the stone wall. I have to admit that the demon god is indeed very powerful, but it's still not enough to contend with me. If it weren't for this stone wall, I wouldn't have been sealed. I really hate it. Demon god, one day, I, the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon, will take your life. 9 Tribulations demonic dragon? Hearing the voice from the stone wall, Longao was shocked. Could it be that the mythical beast sealed in the stone wall was a giant dragon? Brat, you don't have to guess. I'm a member of the dragon clan. Damn you, you don't want to be a disciple of the Long family? So what if you're a divine dragon? I still say the same thing. I'm a disciple of the Long family, not a disciple of the Long family. Ha ha, what a Long family disciple. Not a disciple of the Long family? Ha ha. Hearing Longao's words, the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon didn't get angry. Instead, it laughed happily. Brat, I also hate the Long family and the dragon clan. Pretentious things. The dragon clan will perish in the hands of these people sooner or later. He finally got it right. Longao always had a feeling that the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon sealed in the stone wall was not on good terms with the dragon clan. Otherwise, the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon would have been furious when he said he wasn't a disciple of the Long family. Brat, you've awakened your special ability? Longao didn't know much about the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon, but he had a general understanding of it after communicating with Long Fu. As the name implied, the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon was one of the most powerful clans in the dragon clan. It would experience 9 lightning tribulations in its life. Those who succeeded would not only be reborn, but would also have continuous breakthroughs in their strength. Once they reached 9 tribulations, their strength would be earth-shattering. Longao didn't know how many lightning tribulations the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon sealed in the stone wall had already experienced, but Longao knew very well that since the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon was already in the heavenly god realm, it should have reached 9 tribulations at the very least. Such a terrifying existence would even surpass his ancestor, Long Batian. That's right, I've awakened my special ability. Longao didn't hide this at all. After all, with the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon's terrifying strength, it wouldn't be a problem for it to sense his special ability. Good, your talent and potential far surpass 99% of the people in the Long family. Awakening your special ability means that you have the bloodline of your ancestor, and it's very pure. In this case, when you transform a second time, a third time, and all the way up to the 9th time, you'll have the terrifying strength of your ancestor. Longao naturally knew who the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon was talking about. Longao found it funny. He couldn't imagine whether the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon would be scared silly if he summoned the primordial divine dragon now. After all, the primordial divine dragon was the ancestor of the dragon clan and all divine dragons. No matter how powerful the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon was, it would only be a joke in front of the primordial divine dragon. Chapter 535. Longao could clearly feel that the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon's killing intent towards him had lessened a lot. Even so, Longao still did not dare to relax in the slightest. In any case, Long Fu had just said that the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon wanted to seize his soul and break the seal. If he was careless, the consequences would be unimaginable. Boy, since you're not bad, I'll take care of you. How about that? Senior, how will you take care of me? It's very simple. As long as you can help me break the seal, the demon god's treasure will belong to you. How about that? Longao was not surprised at the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon's intention because he had already guessed it. The 9 Tribulations demonic dragon had been sealed in the stone wall by the demon god for so many years. He would not want to come out unless he was out of his mind. Now that he had finally met him, how could the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon give up this opportunity so easily? Boy, are you willing? Ck Longao cursed fiercely in his heart. Of course, he was unwilling to agree. Who knew if the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon would attack him if he released him? Longao knew very well that the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon was still a divine beast, and a divine beast at that. Even if the old ancestor was reborn, he would not be a match for the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon, let alone him. Senior Divine Dragon, let's be frank. I'm worried about you. Ha ha ha, what a straightforward boy. I like your character very much. Well, in that case, I won't say much nonsense. Let's be straightforward. Before Longao could speak, the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon continued. Boy, you have to know that if you can help me break the seal, I'll help you break through to the Saint Realm and this stone tablet will still belong to you. It had to be said that the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon's offer was indeed very tempting. Longao was also a normal person, so it was impossible for him to resist. However, Longao still did not quite believe the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon. I can help you break the seal, but you have to promise me one thing. A demand? Longao actually made a request to a divine beast. If other people knew about this, it was unknown whether they would scold him or not. After all, divine beasts and Shinto martial artists were the true most powerful existences in the world. Under normal circumstances, the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon would have attacked the moment he heard a puny human warrior making a request of him. But now, the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon was sealed in the stone wall. No matter how displeased he was, he could only endure it for the time being. Kid, tell me what you want. I hope you don't push your luck. Chuckling in his heart, Longao said indifferently. Senior, my request is actually very simple. Senior is too strong. Once I break the seal, Senior will go back on his words. Brat, screw you. I'm a mighty 9 Tribulations demonic dragon. How could I go back on my word? I don't care. I have to think about my own life. So, in order to prevent unnecessary trouble, I hope you can give me the divine pill first. After I break the seal and break through to the Supreme Tao, I will return the divine pill to you. How about that? The divine pill was the source of power in the body of a divine beast. It could be said that once a divine beast lost the divine pill, it was no different from an ordinary spiritual beast. Hearing this, the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon was completely enraged. Kid, you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. I will now let you experience the power of a divine beast. As soon as his voice fell, an unparalleled power of the divine way erupted from the stone wall and instantly enveloped Longao. A divine beast was a divine beast. Moreover, the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon was in the heavenly god realm. Just the aura alone was not something that Longao could contend with. Fortunately, the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon was sealed in the stone wall. Otherwise, just the suppression of the aura alone would have been enough to kill Longao. It was precisely because the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon was sealed in the stone wall that the suppression of the aura could not kill Longao. Longao knew this, and so did the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon. Resisting the suppression of the divine way aura, Longao said in neither servile nor overbearing manner, Senior, if you want to break the seal and leave here, you will have to pay a price. Otherwise, no one will be able to help you. As I said before, you will always be a divine beast. Unless it is a divine way warrior, and a heavenly god at that, no one will be able to help you. As for others. Although Longao did not finish his words, the meaning of his words was very clear. The 9 Tribulations demonic dragon seemed to understand this as well. The powerful aura released from the stone wall instantly disappeared without a trace. After a moment of silence, the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon's voice sounded again. Kid, it is impossible for me to hand over the divine pill. I will not agree to this. What are your conditions? Longao was immediately delighted. This was the effect that he wanted. He knew very well that the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon would not hand over the divine pill unless the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon was out of his mind. Longao smiled and said, Senior, since you are unwilling to hand over the divine pill, there is only one way. If you want me to help you break the seal, you must hand over something. What is it? The divine pill. Kid, F*CKU. Before the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon could get angry, Longao had already disappeared without a trace. The 9 Tribulations demonic dragon had no place to vent his anger. Longao was extremely pleased. Although the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon did not have any malicious intentions towards him, no one could guarantee that the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon would deal with him once the seal was broken. As the saying goes, one should not have the intention to harm others, but one must always be vigilant against others. It was precisely because of this that Longao did not trust the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon from the beginning to the end. Long Fu, have you thought of a way? After playing with the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon this time, Longao knew that it was impossible to refine the stone wall with his own strength. Therefore, his only chance was Long Fu. This time, Long Fu allowed him to enter the forbidden area of the beast tide mainly because of the stone wall. If he could not refine the stone wall, wouldn't his trip be in vain? Master, I have just sensed that the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon has been sealed in the stone tablet by the demon god for so many years. It is already very good that his strength has reached 1/10 of his original strength. Even so, you are still no match for the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon. Nonsense. Longao despised Long Fu because from the beginning to the end, Long Fu had never spoken nonsense. However, Longao still endured it. At this moment, Longao was very anxious. After all, the beast tide had already invaded the 9 states. Who knew what was going on in the 9 states now? Long Fu, if you don't have a better way to refine 10 times, I will return to the 9 states first. Master, I won't say much about the stone tablet. In short, if you miss this opportunity in the future. Long Fu did not continue speaking, causing Longao to be depressed to the extreme. With no other choice, he could only continue to stay. Chapter 536. In the end, Longao chose to stay. Long Fu couldn't think of a better idea in a short time. Longao was also helpless. He couldn't leave, and he couldn't not leave either. Looking at the stone wall from afar, Longao still didn't know what kind of treasure the stone tablet was. However, the fact that it could seal the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon was proof of its power. Spirit region of the 9 states. It had been 7 days since the beast tide invaded the 9 states. The entire spirit region of the 9 states was in a terrible situation. Blood flowed like rivers and corpses were everywhere. The 4 forces didn't care at all. They only cared about protecting their own forces. They didn't care about the other families and sections. In this way, there were almost no sects and families that could resist the beast tide. In just 7 days, the number of humans devoured by the beast tide had exceeded 100 million. What kind of concept was this? Even so, the 4 forces still turned a blind eye to it. All the families and sects were furious and cursed the 4 forces. According to the rate at which the beast tide was devouring, at least 60% of the spirit region of the 9 states would be devoured even if the beast tide could retreat in 10 days. It would be difficult to recover from this disaster without decades or even centuries. The 4 forces were cleaning up their own business. However, at this time, the imperial city suddenly began to rescue the spirit region of the 9 states. No matter who it was, as long as they agreed to join or submit to the imperial city, they could enter the imperial city and be protected by the imperial city. At this moment of life and death, the one who saved them was their grandfather. One had to admit that the imperial city's decision this time was correct. In order to survive, all the sects and families in the 9 states chose to submit to the imperial city without exception. Even the sects and families that were subordinate to the Nether Mansion, Ethereal Palace, and the third-class Long family all chose to submit to the imperial city. In just 1 hour, the imperial city's strength had increased by 100 times. This momentum was still developing. If this situation continued, the imperial city's strength would increase by 1,000 times once the beast tide retreated. In this way, the other 3 forces wouldn't be able to compete with the imperial city. The Nether Mansion, Ethereal Palace, and the third-class Long family never thought that the imperial city would do such a thing. After all, under normal circumstances, it was already good enough that the 4 forces took care of them. However, the imperial city was so shameless. Imperial City's intention was actually very simple. While everyone was at their wits' end, they came out and pretended to be good people, taking the opportunity to win people's hearts. Serene Hell Mansion, Ethereal Palace, and Level 3 Long family panicked when they saw the Imperial City's power growing. According to the Imperial City, the 3 major forces would also announce to the world that whoever was willing to submit would be protected by the 3 major forces. However, what the 3 great powers did not expect was that their actions were so ineffective. Compared to the Imperial City, the difference was like heaven and earth. In fact, many forces no longer believed in the 3 major forces. After all, the Imperial City was the first to open its gates to protect them. Tianzhou, Long family, Main Hall. Father Aoor has been gone for so long, but there is still no news. I'm scared. Waving his hand, Long Haosher stopped his son from continuing. He said firmly, "Nothing could have happened to Aoor. If I'm not mistaken, Aoor should be in the forbidden land of the beast tide. I don't believe that the 4 great factions alone can kill my Aoor." Longi sighed deeply in his heart. Because he knew his father too well. Although he looked firm on the surface, he was extremely worried in his heart. The beast tide was such a serious matter. According to Aoor's character, he should have returned long ago. But now? Father, let's not lie to ourselves anymore. The 4 great factions have already spread the news that Aoor has died in the forbidden land of the beast tide. Although I don't know what happened, I'm sure that Aoor's death is related to the 4 great factions. The 4 great factions. Long Haosher clenched his fists tightly. No matter what, Long Haosher was still old. At this moment, Long Haosher's face suddenly lit up with joy. He said eagerly, "I have something urgent to do. The 4 great factions, we will definitely take revenge." Longi was shocked. He did not know what had happened to his father. Just as Long Haosher left the main hall and headed to the back mountain, he was immediately enveloped by a divine aura. In the next second, Long Haosher entered the cave. Inside the cave, Old Ancestor Aoor. Long Batian waved his hand and said with a smile, "Aoor is fine. Just as you said, the 4 great factions alone cannot kill Aoor." Long Batian knew everything that had happened to Long Ao's people. Hearing the Old Ancestor's words, Long Haosher finally let out a sigh of relief. Long Haosher trusted the Old Ancestor. After all, Long Batian was the supreme existence in the Long family. He was also the first divine warrior of the Long family. Others might not know, but how could he not know? "Old Ancestor, why did you summon me this time?" Long Haosher respectfully knelt on the ground. No matter how high Long Haosher's position in the Long family was, he was still a child in front of Long Batian. "Get up first." "Yes." Long Haosher respectfully stood up. In fact, Longao had already guessed why the old ancestor had summoned him this time. He was very excited because once he obtained the divine inheritance, he would be able to become a divine warrior in the future. With the power of the 9 continents, once he became a divine warrior, the Long family would dominate the 9 continents, and no one would be able to defeat them. Since you've already guessed it, then I won't say any more nonsense. I've already separated the inheritance of the divine Tao. From now on, you'll officially receive the inheritance of the divine Tao. You'll be able to achieve the position of the divine Tao in at least 1 year and at most 3 years. However, remember one thing. You're not allowed to tell anyone about your achievement of the divine Tao except for Ao or Old Ancestor. Forgive me for asking, but why? Longao simply could not understand. Since he had already become a divine warrior, why couldn't he tell others? If that was the case, then wouldn't the family never be able to rise? I will make this short. I believe you should also know about the grievances between me and the Long family. If the Long family knows that you have become a divine warrior, not only you, but also Ao and the Long family will be in trouble. Hearing the old ancestor's words, Longao was startled. He nodded and said, Old ancestor, I understand. It's good that you understand. We will begin immediately. You need 10 days to comprehend the divine inheritance. After 10 days, you will immediately go into seclusion to practice. I will do my best to help you. Hearing this, Longao was overjoyed and repeatedly nodded. Next, Longao began to receive the divine inheritance. With the help of Long Batian, Longao was almost in no danger. P.S. Let me tell everyone a good news. This book is only available today, but there is a limit for tomorrow. Therefore, only 3 chapters can be updated. The outbreak will begin on the 14th. Little 9 will continue for a few days. Chapter 537. Longao had a headache because Long Fu still had not found a way to deal with the 9 tribulations demonic dragon after a whole day and night. Longao was very anxious. After all, no one knew what would happen in the 9 prefectures if they delayed for a minute. The invasion of the beast tide was within reach of the 9 prefectures. The only thing Longao was worried about was that if the 4 major forces did not close the legendary passage, the 9 prefectures would be in trouble. However, Long Fu had already said that the stone tablet was an opportunity for him. If he missed it, he would definitely regret it in the future. The biggest reason why Longao did not rush out this time was because of time. The invasion of the beast tide would last for a total of 10 days. Until now, 7 days had passed since the invasion of the 9 prefectures. There were only 3 days left. Even if he went back, it would be useless. It was because of this that Longao decided to stay and deal with the stone tablet first. Long Fu, how is it? Master, although the strength of the 9 tribulations demonic dragon is only a 10th of my original strength, you are still no match for him. It's basically impossible for you to refine the wall with your own strength. F***ck. He cursed fiercely in his heart. If he had known this would happen, he would not have waited so painfully. Just as Longao was about to get up and return to the 9 prefectures, Long Fu suddenly said, But there is a way to try, but it is very dangerous. What is it? Longao was completely depressed by Long Fu. He even had an impulse to go up and beat up Long Fu. As if he also felt his master's displeasure, Long Fu finally smiled and said, Master, don't be impatient. Longao, who was already extremely displeased, suddenly saw Long Fu smile. At first he was stunned. Longao could only sigh helplessly. For a long time, Long Fu had never smiled. This time, he was giving face to Long Fu. Master, if you want to refine the stone tablet, you must first deal with the 9 tribulations demonic dragon. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for you. Nonsense. So, Master, there is only one thing you need to do now, and that is to deal with the 9 tribulations demonic dragon first. Long Fu, of course I know that I have to deal with the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon first. But the question now is, how should I deal with the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon? Longao was very depressed. He didn't know what was wrong with Long Fu today. After all, Long Fu wasn't usually like this. He seemed to speak incoherently to the point of incoherence. Master, the only way now is to use the dragon seal space to forcibly suppress the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon within the stone wall. What are the consequences? Longao wasn't a fool. Of course, he knew that the dragon seal space wouldn't forcefully help him. If the dragon seal space was damaged, he would rather not have this treasure. In Longao's heart, the dragon seal space was more important than anything else. Master, this is your only chance. I can tell you that if you can obtain this stone tablet, you will definitely become one of the strongest existences in the world in the future. So, this is a rare opportunity. You must not miss it. Long Fu knew what Longao meant, but he waved his hand and said firmly, Long Fu, no need to say more. I will not agree to this. No matter what, nothing can happen to the dragon seal space. Leave the matter of the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon to me. Without giving Long Fu any chance to speak, Longao left the dragon seal space. Longao took a deep look at the stone wall in front of him. He didn't delay any longer and walked up. Boy, you have guts. You actually dare to come back. The 9 Tribulations demonic dragon's dissatisfied voice came from the stone wall. But thinking about it, the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon's anger was completely understandable. As a divine dragon, he had been toyed with by an insignificant human warrior. Not to mention other things, just the humiliation alone was enough. 9 Tribulations demonic dragon, let's cut the crap. I came here mainly for this stone wall. As for you, I have no interest. Tell me, what do I have to do for you to agree? The 9 Tribulations demonic dragon seemed a little surprised, but he was also pleasantly surprised. After being sealed for so many years and unable to leave, how could the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon give up this rare opportunity so easily? Boy, you are straightforward enough. In that case, I will not be wishy-washy. I will give you a chance. Aren't you afraid that I will go back on my word and leave the stone wall to take revenge on you? I can now swear a blood oath that I will never do anything to you. How about it? No. Boy, are you deliberately toying with me? 9 Tribulations demonic dragon, I can't let you out for no reason. As a divine dragon, I believe you will not do this. My condition is very simple. You have to give me 3 drops of blood essence and help me break through to the half-saint realm. Damn you! Without giving the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon any chance to scold him, Longao turned around and prepared to leave. Boy, wait a minute. Longao was overjoyed. He was full of confidence. The 9 Tribulations demonic dragon had been sealed for so many years and certainly did not want to continue being sealed. Moreover, he was the only chance. Unless the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon was out of his mind, he would certainly agree to his request. Boy, 3 drops of blood essence is no problem. But I have just sensed your constitution. It is too strange. Even if I have a way, I can at most raise your cultivation to the peak of the half-saint realm. As for the saint realm, I am powerless. If you agree, we will begin. Otherwise, get out of here immediately. Longao did not doubt the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon's words at all. Longao knew very well that whether he was at the peak of the half-saint realm, or a primary saint realm, or even a peak saint realm, he was nothing in front of the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon. Therefore, the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon did not need to deceive him. What's more, the constitution that the 9 Tribulations demonic dragon had just mentioned was not known to others, but how could he not know? The sacred desolation body was the first divine body since ancient times. It was also the first useless body. Unless one had the support of a huge amount of power, it was impossible to advance to the next level. Because of this, once an ordinary person possessed the sacred desolation body, they would only end up in a tragedy. However, Longao's situation was different. The arrival of the Dragon Seal Space allowed the Dragon Seal Space and the sacred desolation body to be perfectly combined. His cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds. But in the end, the Dragon Seal Space was not omnipotent. It was not realistic to rely on the Dragon Seal Space to advance all the way and break through all the way to the so-called Divine Realm. Thinking of this, Longao decided that no matter how difficult it was, he would rely on his own persistence and efforts to reach the so-called Divine Realm. He would stand at the peak of martial arts and look down on the firmament. Hearing the 9 Tribulations Demonic Dragon's agreement, Longao was overjoyed. He did not say anything and just watched quietly. The 9 Tribulations Demonic Dragon was shrewd. He instantly understood the meaning of Longao's gaze. Chapter 538. After thinking about it, Longao finally agreed. Although the 9 Tribulations Demonic Dragon agreed readily, Longao did not let down his guard. He was still vigilant at all times. The 9 Tribulations Demonic Dragon was still a divine beast of the Divine Realm. According to the 9 Tribulations Demonic Dragon, there was only one way for Longao to break through to the peak of the Half-Saint Realm in the shortest time possible, and that was to use the 9 Tribulations Demonic Dragon's power to refine himself. It could be said that Longao's breakthrough this time coexisted with both opportunity and risk. The reason was very simple. The 9 Tribulations Demonic Dragon's power entered Longao's body. If the 9 Tribulations Demonic Dragon played any tricks, the consequences would be unimaginable. But Longao had no other choice. First, he had to get the stone tablet. According to Long Fu, this stone tablet was very important to him. Whether he could set foot on the peak of martial arts in the future depended on this stone tablet. Second, the 9 Tribulations Demonic Dragon could help him break through to the peak of the Half-Saint Realm. Such an opportunity did not come by all the time. Because of this, Longao finally chose to fight. Opportunity coexisted with danger. Longao did not continue to dodge. The 9 Tribulations Demonic Dragon's power instantly entered his body. Time stopped. Longao stood quietly in front of the stone tablet, feeling the 9 Tribulations Demonic Dragon's power that entered his body. But at this moment, "Ha ha ha, boy, today I'll let you have a taste of 10,000 souls devouring your heart." Longao was shocked, but he did not cry out as expected. Instead, he calmly released the aura of heaven and earth. Something shocking happened. The aura of heaven and earth could even suppress the aura of the divine path. The aura of heaven and earth! Impossible, impossible! You can't be reborn from nirvana, damn you! The 9 Tribulations Demonic Dragon inside the stone tablet was obviously a little panicked. The 9 Tribulations Demonic Dragon never thought that Longao, who was only a half-saint, could have the aura of heaven and earth. The aura of heaven and earth was the most powerful aura in the world. Even a divine path warrior could not have such an aura. After a brief shock, the 9 Tribulations Demonic Dragon's killing intent surged. After all, a half-saint could condense the aura of heaven and earth. All of a sudden, the dragon's roar reverberated throughout the world. Long Chang's figure suddenly appeared and stared coldly at the stone wall. Although Long Chang was still unable to speak, his aura had already expressed his attitude. Giant dragon? Dragon warrior? As a divine beast, the 9 Tribulations Demonic Dragon naturally knew what it meant when a huge dragon suddenly emerged from Longao's body. As expected, it was easy to guess. How could a person who had even awakened his innate magical power not be a dragon warrior? Get out of my way! Long Chang was not afraid of the 9 Tribulations Demonic Dragon. He knew that he was not as strong as the 9 Tribulations Demonic Dragon, but Long Chang still rushed forward without hesitation. He attacked the 9 Tribulations Demonic Dragon, but no matter how hard he tried, he could not break the stone wall. Ha ha ha! A little holy dragon wants to challenge the majesty of a divine dragon. You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Get out of my way. Even if the 9 tribulations demonic dragon's strength was only 1/10 of his original body, it was still not something that Long Chang could contend with. He was directly sent flying by his aura. However, Long Chang also had the desolate divine body, so the aura of the 9 tribulations demonic dragon could not kill Long Chang at all. Because of this, the 9 tribulations demonic dragon was very shocked. He was very confident in his strength. His opponent was just a little holy dragon. How could he resist his aura? The 9 tribulations demonic dragon finally felt that something was wrong. Because of this, the 9 tribulations demonic dragon's killing intent surged. The terrifying power suppressed down from all directions. The 9 tribulations demonic dragon's intention was very simple. He wanted to obliterate Long Chang's soul in the shortest time possible so that he could be reborn. Only then could he break out of the seal. However, the 9 tribulations demonic dragon never expected that a soul would attack him in an instant. If he was in his original body or on guard, this soul would not be able to attack him at all. But now, there was a blood-curdling scream. Fortunately, the 9 tribulations demonic dragon was a spirit. Otherwise, the soul attack released by Long Chang would have been enough to obliterate him. At this moment, the 9 tribulations demonic dragon was extremely depressed. As a dignified divine dragon, it should have been easy for him to kill a half-saint. But now, it seemed that the road ahead was bumpy. Enduring the pain in his soul, the 9 tribulations demonic dragon cursed. Long Chang, I'm going to tear you to pieces today. The 9 tribulations demonic dragon was completely enraged. After being sealed in the stone wall for so many years, he had a belly full of anger. Now there was someone who was not afraid of death and kept causing trouble for him. It was simply unbearable. The secret cave could endure, but the chrysanthemum could not. The success of the soul attack this time was a blessing in disguise. Long Chang knew very well that once the 9 tribulations demonic dragon was on guard, the soul attack would definitely fail. The consequences would be unimaginable. It was also because of this that Long Chang did not dare to continue with the soul attack. After all, the 9 tribulations demonic dragon would definitely be on guard after the first time. If he continued to use the soul attack, he would simply be courting death. Long Chang's face was extremely gloomy. The 9 tribulations demonic dragon was indeed shameless. Since you're so heartless, don't blame me for being unjust. Long Chang instantly used the seal of destruction. After successfully cultivating the 5th seal, Long Fu had imparted all the remaining seals to Long Chang. According to Long Chang's current comprehension and strength, he could already use the 10th seal. The terrifying power began to attack the power released by the 9 tribulations demonic dragon. However, Long Chang still had to be careful. After all, the battlefield was not inside the stone wall, but inside his body. The slightest mistake would cause him to be doomed eternally. Long Chang was very careful, but the 9 tribulations demonic dragon was obviously doing it on purpose. He was forcing Long Chang step by step. The power of the spirit itself was very strong. Even the seal of destruction could not resist the erosion of this power. What should I do? How should I deal with it? At this critical moment, Long Chang did not know what to do. After all, the opponent's power had already invaded his mind and could invade his soul at any time. If that really happened, his soul would be instantly obliterated, and then his soul would be seized and reborn. Long Chang did not choose to give up, because no one knew what would happen until the last moment. Die, brat! The 9 tribulations demonic dragon was very confident. This was the gap in strength. This was the gap between a divine beast and a semi-sage warrior. It could not be bridged. Just when the 9 tribulations demonic dragon thought that he would definitely win, suddenly, an ancient dragon's roar rang out from Long Chang's body again. This gave the 9 tribulations demonic dragon a fright. Could it be that this brat has twin dragons? A twin dragon warrior? At this time, the 9 tribulations demonic dragon in the stone wall made an earth-shaking swallowing sound. Chapter 539. At the same time as the ancient dragon's roar rang out, an illusory dragon's shadow of 100,000 feet long appeared. The primordial divine dragon. No matter how powerful the 9 tribulations demonic dragon was, he was still a member of the dragons. How could he not recognize their ancestor, the primordial divine dragon? However, the entire dragon clan, including the entire continent, knew one thing: the primordial divine dragon had already fallen in ancient times. If that was the case, why would the ancestor appear here? Impersonate the ancestor. That's right, the primordial divine dragon that suddenly appeared in front of him must be a fake. Damn you, how dare you impersonate the ancestor? You deserve to die. Before the 9 tribulations demonic dragon could finish his words, a terrifying dragon aura pressed down on him, causing him to tremble in fear. Although he knew that the other party was very likely the ancestor, the 9 tribulations demonic dragon was still unwilling to believe it. He was 100% sure that the dragon's shadow that suddenly appeared in front of him was a fake. Kid, I don't know where you got this fake thing, but I'll tell you clearly that impersonating the ancestor will result in death. Due to the appearance of the primordial divine dragon, the 9 tribulations demonic dragon's power withdrew from his body. At this moment, Longao could finally breathe a sigh of relief. However, when he heard the 9 tribulations demonic dragon's words, Longao almost spat out blood. He had seen people with water in their heads, but he had never seen someone with a brain filled with paste. Even if the body could be impersonated, could the aura be impersonated as well? After thinking about it, Longao instantly understood the reason. Even if the 9 tribulations demonic dragon had guessed the primordial divine dragon's identity, he would definitely not admit it. After all, admitting it was equivalent to surrendering. As a dignified divine dragon, how could the 9 tribulations demonic dragon be willing to submit to him? The primordial divine dragon did not say a word, nor did he show any signs of anger. Indifference was written all over his solemn face as he smiled. At this moment, a terrifying dragon's breath covered the sky and pressed down on the stone wall. Feeling this terrifying dragon aura, Longao was shocked. He had no idea why the primordial divine dragon would do this. According to the primordial divine dragon, he had already suffered a great loss by forcefully attacking earlier. If he continued to attack, wouldn't he be courting death? Longao was very clear that in the past, the primordial divine dragon and Long Tian had fought against the heavenly Tao. In the end, one of them died and the other was injured. In the end, if it weren't for the dragon seal space, he believed that the primordial divine dragon would have died there. Could it be because of this stone wall? Thinking up to this point, Longao grew increasingly shocked. He did not know what this stone wall was for it to cause the primordial divine dragon to personally take action. This time, the primordial divine dragon was going all out. Just as Longao had guessed, in order to obtain the stone wall, he was willing to risk his life and resolutely attacked. Ancestor, I beg you. Before the 9 tribulations demonic dragon could finish speaking, the voice disappeared. Immediately after, the primordial divine dragon's voice was heard. Thank you? Longao didn't hesitate. He immediately came to the front of the stone wall and circulated all the strength in his body. With a loud roar, he released all the strength in his body and enveloped the stone wall in an instant. If it were just Longao's strength alone, it would be impossible for him to devour the stone wall. However, with the help of the primordial divine dragon, Longao easily swallowed the stone wall into his body and into his dantian. Longao, come with me. Longao nodded. His soul followed the primordial divine dragon into the dragon seal space. Long Fu stood respectfully to the side. No matter what, the primordial divine dragon and Longao were both his masters. One was his previous master, while the other was his current master. Thank you, Senior Divine Dragon, for your help. Although Longao still didn't know what the stone tablet was, he knew that it was definitely something good. Otherwise, Long Fu and the primordial divine dragon wouldn't be so nervous. Longao, do you know what the stone tablet you just obtained is? Shaking his head, Longao said. I don't know. Chaos stone tablets. There are a total of 12 chaos stone tablets in the world. According to legend, as long as you can obtain one of the chaos stone tablets, you can become a super expert in the world. Do you understand what I'm saying? Longao nodded foolishly. His heart was already in a perilous situation. Of course, he understood what the primordial divine dragon meant. There were 12 chaos stone tablets in the world. As long as one could obtain one of them, they could become a super expert in the world. Such a temptation was something that no one could resist. Longao was really grateful to Long Fu and the primordial divine dragon. After all, there were only 12 chaos stone tablets in the world. He had already obtained one. Such luck was extremely good. Longao, I've forcefully suppressed the 9 tribulations demonic dragon for you. It's time for me to fall. Unless a miracle happens, I can't continue to help you. With regards to this, Longao was not surprised at all. It was as if he had already guessed it. No matter what, the primordial divine dragon's forceful actions this time had already sealed his fate. Instantly, Longao's impression of the primordial divine dragon greatly improved. In truth, Longao clearly knew that the primordial divine dragon was helping him because he wanted to help him. After all, only by becoming stronger and stronger could he help him and Long Tian take revenge. But the primordial divine dragon was already about to disappear. I have 3 things to tell you. Listen well. Longao quietly listened. The first thing is that we don't know what attribute the Chaos Stone tablet you obtained is. You'll have to rely on your own comprehension. But remember, don't tell anyone. Otherwise, you'll be in great trouble. I know. Longao was well aware of the primordial divine dragon's worries. No matter what, the primordial stone tablet was far too powerful. Once this matter was leaked out, not to mention ordinary martial artists, even divine way martial artists would not be able to resist the temptation and would try to snatch the primordial stone tablet. The second thing is that before your strength reaches the peak, you must not expose yourself. Especially in front of the heavenly Tao. I hope you can help me take revenge. If you can't do this, Long Fu will choose another master. Although Longao did not speak, he was very unhappy in his heart. In the end, although he was still the master of the Dragon Seal Space, he was actually under the control of Long Fu and the Dragon Seal Space. As long as Long Fu was willing, he could deal with him at any time and change masters. One day, I'll truly become the master of the Dragon Seal Space. The third thing is to help me take good care of my Long family and Dragon Valley. Consider this my request to you. As in Primordial Divine Dragon, it was extremely rare for him to say such words. Longao originally did not want to agree, but in the end, he nodded in agreement. In the end, he had received a favor. If it were not for Long Fu and the Primordial Divine Dragon, he would still be a trash in Scarlet Fire Town, being humiliated and ridiculed every day. Chapter 540. Longao had no objections to the primordial divine dragon's 3 conditions. As the saying went, strength represented everything. With his current strength, he had no qualifications to object. Just as the primordial divine dragon had said, as long as Long Fu felt unsuitable, he could find someone to replace him at any time. This was strength. If one wanted to live well in this man-eat-man world, they had to have super strength. Longao, I'm about to disappear. One last thing, although I've temporarily suppressed the 9 tribulations demon dragon, Long Fu can't refine it. So you have to be careful of the 9 tribulations demon dragon's backlash. Nodding, before Longao could ask, the primordial divine dragon had already disappeared. Letting out a deep sigh, Longao didn't say another word to Long Fu as he turned around and left the dragon seal space. After Longao left, Long Fu suddenly said, "Old ancestor, this scheme that you set up seems to be a bit, okay, this matter ends here. I only have one goal. Longao must break through to the peak in the shortest time possible, otherwise I'm afraid I won't be able to wait." Long Fu didn't say anything, but there seemed to be something in his eyes. 12 Chaos Stone Tablets. After obtaining the Chaos Stone Tablets, Longao wasn't as happy as he had imagined. He didn't know why, but he had a feeling that he had been involved in a shocking conspiracy. The Heavenly Tao, Long Tian and the Primordial Divine Dragon. Longao was very clear that whether it was the Heavenly Tao, the Primordial Divine Dragon, or Long Tian, they were all the strongest existences in the world. He didn't have the qualifications to participate in their grudges. But the Primordial Divine Dragon had already chosen him, so what could he do? At this moment, Longao finally understood why he had obtained the Dragon Seal space in his family's ancestral hall. It seemed that everything wasn't that simple. Forcefully suppressing the helplessness and unhappiness in his heart, Longao didn't continue to stay in the forbidden area of the Beast Tide. He prepared to return to the 9 provinces to see what was going on. This Beast Tide had invaded the 9 provinces. As long as the 4 great powers closed the transmission channel in time, the 9 provinces would be spared. But in any case, the 9 states' spirit domain was completely out of luck. Unless the 4 forces went all out, the fate of the 9 states' spirit domain was doomed. If it was before the arrival of the Beast Horde, Longao might have believed that the 4 forces would go all out to defend against the Beast Horde. But now, Longao absolutely did not believe that the 4 major forces would do such a thing. If the 4 major forces were willing, they wouldn't have retreated at the last moment, and had their own ulterior motives. Because of this, Longao was very anxious. However, at this moment, countless spirit beasts rushed over from the Beast Tide forbidden area. The Beast Tide had returned. Longao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Although the Beast Tide had retreated, the 9 continents' spirit realm and the 9 continents must have suffered unprecedented destruction. Because of this, Longao was even more furious. The 4 great forces, including the Imperial City, deserved to die. Longao didn't dare to face the Beast Tide head-on. Even if he was a half-step sage, he would be drowned by the Beast Tide in an instant. Beast Tide. Longao couldn't imagine where the Beast Tide came from. If he could control the Beast Tide, it was hard to imagine how powerful the sect would be. It was unavoidable. F***ck Longao cursed in his heart. There were too many Beast Tide. At a glance, it was a black mass. He didn't dare to be careless. Longao immediately turned around and shot away. Being chased by the Beast Tide, Longao's speed increased by a level. In this situation, Longao couldn't care about anything else. Anyway, he only had one goal, and that was to not be caught by the Beast Tide. Longao didn't care about anything else and shot towards the deepest part of the forest. The Beast Tide was also very fast. Every spirit beast was crazy. They opened their bloody mouths as if they wanted to devour everything in the world. What should I do? Seeing that there was no end in front of him, Longao's heart sank to the extreme. If this continued, the Beast Tide would catch up to him sooner or later. When that time came, the consequences would be unimaginable. Although there was no way to completely shake off the Beast Tide, Longao didn't let go of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He slowed down a little and started his massacre. Whether it was the spirit beast's soul or corpse, they were all sent into the Dragon Seal space. This time, Longao clearly wanted to wipe them all out. No matter how strong the spirit beast was, he wanted to kill them all. Longao had already decided that no matter what, he would create an invincible corpse slave army. The Beast Tide was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. 99% of the spirit beasts in the Beast Tide weren't sacred beasts. Therefore, with Longao's strength, killing these spirit beasts was a simple matter. Longao only killed a little over 1,000 spirit beasts. He didn't continue killing and continued to fly away. Someone dared to move above the lion's head and pull out a tooth from the tiger's mouth. The beast tide had millions or even tens of millions of spirit beasts. They were so densely packed that one couldn't even see the end. Not to mention someone daring to attack the beast tide, no matter who it was, even if it was a divine path martial artist, they would avoid the beast tide. It was because of this that Longao's sudden attack had thoroughly angered the beast tide. The result was obvious. The beast tide's speed increased by a full 20%. They chased after Longao crazily. They couldn't wait to tear Longao into pieces. This caused Longao to run even more crazily without stopping for a moment. Unknowingly, Longao and the beast tide had all entered the deepest part of the forest. It was dark all around. Even the sky couldn't be seen. It was like a sealed space. Eh? Exclaiming in surprise, Longao was shocked. Because just as he stepped into the dark space, the beast tide behind him silently disappeared. That's right, the tens of millions of spirit beasts in the beast tide suddenly disappeared without a trace. Not a single spirit beast was left behind. Just what had happened? Imperceptibly, Longao became extremely vigilant. Because the beast tide had suddenly disappeared, even ghosts would know that this matter was not normal at all. He raised 120% of his attention and carefully observed the surrounding environment. Longao could be very sure that the place he was in was a huge sealed dark space. As for how big this dark space was, no one knew. Longao could also be sure of one thing. That was the terrifying beast tide. Tens of millions of spirit beasts seemed to have come from this dark space. It was because of this that Longao became more and more serious. He simply didn't know what kind of place this dark space was. He couldn't figure it out at all. Longao really couldn't figure it out. Where did all the spirit beasts in the beast tide go to? They disappeared into thin air. Could it be that there was a space passage in this space? Longao carefully observed the surrounding environment. In the end, Longao still couldn't figure it out. He shrugged helplessly and turned around to leave the dark space. No matter what happened here, it had nothing to do with him. He only had one thing to do now, and that was to return to the 9 continents. Chapter 541. Just as Longao was about to leave the dark space and return to the 9 states, Longao's expression changed. Not daring to be careless, he immediately sat on the ground. Within the dragon seal space. Long Fu, what happened? Why is the Chaos Stone tablet corroding my strength? This discovery almost scared Longao's silly. No matter what, the primordial divine dragon had said that there were only 12 Chaos Stone tablets in the world. Every Chaos Stone tablet was incomparably powerful. As long as one could obtain one of the Chaos Stone tablets, they could become one of the strongest warriors in the world. Because of this, the Chaos Stone tablet had suddenly corroded his strength. Longao was shocked, not knowing what had happened. He did not dare to be careless. Longao knew nothing about the Chaos Stone tablets, so he could only ask Long Fu for help. Master, the Chaos Stone tablets are the strongest divine weapons in the world. With your strength alone, you cannot suppress the Chaos Stone tablets. *CK Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao could not help but curse in his heart. Longao was very puzzled. Since he could not suppress the Chaos Stone tablets with his strength, why did the primordial divine dragon want him to obtain the Chaos Stone tablets? Now that the primordial divine dragon had disappeared, who could help him suppress the Chaos Stone tablets? Master, don't be impatient. Before Longao could speak, Long Fu had already said, Master, if you want to control the Chaos Stone tablets, you can only rely on yourself. The Chaos Stone tablets can help you become the strongest warrior in the world. So no matter what, you have to subdue it. Nodding his head, Longao naturally knew what Long Fu had said. In the end, if he wanted to successfully control the Chaos Stone tablets, he had to rely on his own strength. It seemed simple, but it was actually very difficult. Master, legend has it that each of the 12 primal Chaos Stone tablets in the world has its own unique martial skill. If Master is able to comprehend this martial skill from the primal Chaos Stone tablet, it won't be difficult for you to dominate the world. Longao wasn't surprised at all. After all, he knew very well that it wouldn't be easy to comprehend a peerless martial skill from the Chaos Stone tablet. In the dark space, Longao sat on the ground, quietly comprehending the Chaos Stone tablet. Although Long Fu didn't help him, he still gave Longao a suggestion. That was to comprehend the Chaos Stone tablet and not suppress it. This way, the speed at which he refined the Chaos Stone tablet would greatly increase. It was easy to say, but it was incomparably difficult to do. After comprehending for an entire day and night, Longao finally obtained a trace of connection with the Chaos Stone tablet. As a result, the Chaos Stone tablet didn't continue to corrode the power in his body. At this moment, Longao finally let out a sigh of relief. However, he was sweating profusely. 1/3 of the power in his body had been corroded. If he didn't succeed in comprehending it in time, he believed that it would take at most 3 days for all the power in his body to be completely corroded. However, even so, Longao felt that it was more difficult than fighting a saint. Taking a deep breath, Longao didn't stand up and leave. He wanted to strike while the iron was hot, and directly start comprehending the peerless martial skill from the Chaos Stone tablet. According to Long Fu, each of the 12 primal Chaos Stone tablets in the world contained a martial skill. As long as one was able to comprehend it, they would be able to dominate the world. Because of this, Longao immediately focused on comprehending the martial skill from the Chaos Stone tablet in his body. He had no idea where to start. Longao felt a deep sense of helplessness. Because no matter what, he couldn't enter the Chaos Stone tablet. As such, it was impossible for him to comprehend the martial skill from the Chaos Stone tablet. Master, use your soul power. Hearing Long Fu's reminder, Longao nodded. He immediately used his soul power to comprehend the Chaos Stone tablet. However, the result was the same. However, Longao could clearly feel that when he used his soul power to sense the Chaos Stone tablet, the Chaos Stone tablet seemed to have a slight reaction. Although the reaction was very small, Longao was pleasantly surprised. After all, he couldn't rush things. A day later, Longao stood up. He didn't continue comprehending the Chaos Stone tablet. Instead, he prepared to immediately return to the 9 states. Although the beast horde had already passed several days ago, he really wanted to know what happened to the 9 states after the beast horde. He wanted to know if the 4 great powers had closed the transmission channel. There was only one thing that Longao was worried about, and that was the matter of the teleportation channel. However, at this moment, Longao dodged to the side. He was so frightened that he broke out in cold sweat. The beast horde had appeared. He didn't know what had happened. Countless spirit beasts suddenly appeared all around him. It was the beast horde that had disappeared a few days ago. Longao didn't know where these spirit beasts had come from. It was as if they had disappeared and appeared out of thin air. He didn't dare to be careless. The wild devouring blade appeared in his hand. One blade after another, the wild devouring blade continuously killed the spirit beasts. However, the beast horde wasn't afraid of death. After one died, another one pounced. Like a moth to a flame. The beast horde didn't seem to be afraid of death. However, it was because of this that Longao's expression was extremely serious. The beast horde's numbers were too many. His initial estimate was that the beast horde had tens of millions of spirit beasts. Not to mention that he was only a half-saint martial artist. Even if he was a martial artist of the divine path, he would be exhausted to death. All the spirit beasts were densely packed. They were constantly attacking from all 4 directions. Longao had no way to escape. Looking at the densely packed spirit beasts that were constantly attacking him, Longao felt his scalp go numb. In just half an hour, Longao had already killed thousands of spirit beasts. However, he was also exhausted. He had no choice but to immediately fly, hoping to leave through space. However, what made Longao feel a headache was that just as he was flying, he didn't know where, but endless flying spirit beasts suddenly shot out from all directions. It was also densely packed. Longao had no choice but to land and continue fighting. Am I going to die here? Space teleportation. In the end, Longao had no choice but to use space teleportation. After 5 consecutive space teleportation, he thought that he could leave. However, what Longao didn't expect was that he still couldn't get rid of the spirit beast's attacks. Not only that, there were more and more spirit beasts coming from all directions. Longao fought with all his strength. He resisted the waves of weakness in his mind. He clenched his teeth and kept telling himself that he couldn't give up. He had to persevere. Persevere. The obsession in his heart made Longao fight more and more bravely. In the end, Longao was covered in blood. It was as if he was a man made of blood. He looked extremely terrifying. After the last strike, Longao looked at the densely packed beast horde that didn't seem to reduce. He sighed deeply. Chapter 542. He kept telling himself that he could not give up. He was determined not to give up. However, under such circumstances, was it really okay to not give up? Longao had already consumed his last bit of strength, and the blood-sucking frenzy blade in his hand had disappeared. This also meant that Longao had chosen to give up. He was unwilling to give up, but things had already come to this point, and he was powerless to do anything. Without the slightest bit of physical strength, even the last bit of soul power had been consumed. Longao looked around helplessly, and finally fainted. The beast tide was endless. All the spirit beasts roared crazily and pounced on Longao one by one, wanting to devour Longao directly. Under normal circumstances, Longao was dead meat. However, at this moment, just as Longao was about to be devoured by the spirit beasts, a dragon's roar suddenly rang out from within his body. Then, a dragon's shadow appeared in the dark space. The ancient dragon's roar resounded through the world. If Longao was awake, he would be shocked speechless. This was because at this moment, the primordial divine dragon, who had disappeared, suddenly appeared again. The dragon's shadow continued to dance, and a terrifying dragon's breath spread in all directions. At this moment, the primordial divine dragon was obviously enduring and could collapse at any time. However, in order to protect Longao, the primordial divine dragon had to forcibly take action, even if it risked the fall of his soul. The primordial divine dragon's intention was very simple. In fact, for so many years, the dragon seal space had found countless masters, but no one had been able to take the final step. In the end, the primordial divine dragon was afraid of being discovered by the heavenly Tao, so he took the dragon seal space and hid in the ancestral hall of the Long family in Scarlet Fire Town. In the end, it could be said that the primordial divine dragon had unintentionally chosen Longao. Firstly, Longao's desolation physique had moved the primordial divine dragon. As the first divine physique since ancient times, once he had the help of the dragon seal space, the desolation physique would not be a so-called waste, but a true divine physique. Secondly, Longao's perseverance was the biggest reason that moved the primordial divine dragon. After all, besides talent, perseverance was the most important thing for a warrior. A person like Longao was 1 in a million. The primordial divine dragon knew very well that once something happened to Longao, it would be very difficult to find a second successor like Longao. Furthermore, the primordial divine dragon did not have much time left, and could die at any time. The primordial divine dragon was one of the most powerful divine beasts in the world during the Antiquity Age. He was also the ancestor of the dragon tribe. Needless to say, his strength was not something that ordinary divine beasts could withstand. If even divine beasts couldn't do it, how could ordinary spirit beasts resist it? As expected, when the primordial divine dragon appeared, all the spirit beasts in the area were visibly frightened. They all knelt down and were as respectful as they could be. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Suddenly, a series of ear-piercing sounds rang out in the dark space. All the spirit beasts who were initially respectful suddenly heard the ear-piercing sounds and started attacking wildly once more. The face of the primordial divine dragon seemed to have changed as well as his authoritative voice rang out. Myriad Beasts Token, Myriad Beasts Sect. Based on the strength of the primordial divine dragon's original body, he should not be bothered about the beast stampede at all. But the situation right now was clearly different. The primordial divine dragon was already at the final juncture. If he were to strike out forcefully, he would definitely not be able to enter the reincarnation cycle. But under such circumstances, the primordial divine dragon was clear that even if he did not strike out, the outcome would still be the same. Since he did not have much time left, he might as well take a gamble and bet that Longao would be able to reach the pinnacle of martial arts and avenge him and Long Tian by slaying the heaven's will. The horrifying primordial divine dragon's roar rang out once more. Suddenly, two beams of light shot out from the body of the primordial divine dragon. One beam of light shot into Longao's body, while the other beam shot into Long Chang's body within the dragon seal space. Be it Longao or Long Chang, either of them could feel anything. This was the difference in strength between both of them. In the face of the primordial divine dragon, both of them were still far too weak. As the primordial divine dragon's roar rang out continuously, the primordial divine dragon struck out as well. As one of the strongest divine beasts in the world, one could not help but admit that even the primordial divine dragon's current strength was pretty frightening. Furthermore, this was the strongest attack of the primordial divine dragon. The horrifying dragon's breath formed into gigantic balls that bombarded the surrounding spirit beasts. Boom! 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 The entire dark space began to tremble. Before the spirit beasts could even react, countless of them were devoured by the beams of light. Not even their corpses remained. This was the strength of the primordial divine dragon. The spirit beast tide was endless. There were simply too many spirit beasts. Although there were only a few million of them, there were definitely tens of millions of them. Even with the terrifying strength of the primordial divine dragon, it was impossible to eliminate tens of millions of spirit beasts in a short period of time. If it was the primordial divine dragon of the primordial era, eliminating tens of millions of spirit beasts would be a matter of minutes. However, it was different now. The primordial divine dragon knew that Longao wanted to refine an army of corpse slaves. Therefore, when it killed the spirit beasts, it kept the souls and corpses of the spirit beasts into the dragon seal space. The number of spirit beasts in the spirit beast tide was decreasing. At a glance, it was no longer endless. The spirit beasts that were still advancing earlier were now less than 4 million. In other words, the primordial divine dragon had killed nearly 6 million spirit beasts in a short period of time. The primordial divine dragon's body almost fell from the sky, but it endured in the end. The primordial divine dragon's body continued to release dragon chi. Countless balls of light continued to erupt. The number of spirit beasts in the spirit beast tide gradually decreased. One by one, there were only 2 million spirit beasts left. Killing 8 million spirit beasts in half an hour. Perhaps only the primordial divine dragon could do it. Could other divine beasts do it? The final attack. The primordial divine dragon let out a terrifying dragon roar. At this moment, an unparalleled dragon chi suddenly erupted from the primordial divine dragon's body. It directly formed 8 balls of light and exploded in 8 different directions. The final attack was also the strongest attack. It directly wiped out the remaining 2 million spirit beasts. Not a single one was left alive. Since then, tens of millions of spirit beasts in the spirit beast tide were slaughtered. Moreover, the souls and corpses of tens of millions of spirit beasts were all sent into the dragon seal space. Once the refining was successful, it would be a terrifying army of tens of millions of corpse slaves. What kind of concept was that? After slaughtering the spirit beast tide, the primordial divine dragon wanted to return to the dragon seal space to recuperate. However, its face suddenly changed. It raised its head and looked at the sky. It was a black mass. Its voice was extremely solemn as it said, "Heavenly Tao. P.S. It will erupt tomorrow at 4 p.m. Everyone, prepare your monthly votes and rewards. Let's see Little Nine's performance. If you are satisfied, cast your monthly votes and rewards. Little Nine will work hard to erupt and will not disappoint everyone. Let's meet tomorrow at 4 p.m. You're tuning into the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.